is a champion. The highly decorated Breeders' Cup winner, British Idiom. All along, she figured to run on the first Friday in May, but with racing suspended at Churchill Downs, it won't be a run for the Lilies in the Kentucky Oaks. Instead, the reigning champ is here, Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas, ready to run in today's featured event. And it won't be easy. She'll face the Max. 13 others have RSVP'd to compete in Oaklawn's biggest race for 3-year-old fillies, the Fantasy. Included the gifted star from the West, Venetian Harbor. She, not British Idiom, is the 2-to-1 morning line favorite in the Fantasy, the main event on this eve of the Arkansas Derby. Gorgeous day in Hot Springs, Arkansas. This is America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing for the love of the race. Visit americasbestracing.net today. Inside our Los Angeles studios, welcome everyone. I'm Lafitte Pinkai. Look, these next 2 days of thoroughbred racing are spectacular. Tomorrow at Oaklawn Park, 2 divisions of the Arkansas Derby. Today, this dream matchup in the Fantasy. And we understand this is a little bit odd. It's the first Friday in May. It's supposed to be the Kentucky Oaks, one of the biggest days of thoroughbred racing in North America. Tomorrow, 2 editions of the Arkansas Derby. We're going to go to bed tomorrow on the first Saturday in May, not having witnessed a Kentucky Derby. Not what important in the world, but it's bizarre. This is the next best thing. The racing at Oaklawn Park, 2 editions of the Arkansas Derby, and today's Grade 3 Fantasy. So excited to have it for you here on America's Day at the Races. Let's take a look at the field of the Fantasy. 3-year-old fillies running a mile in a 16th. 14 deep, the purse $400,000. 2 names jump off that screen. 2-to-1 morning line favorite Venetian Harbor, and last year's 2-year-old filly champion British Idiom. Now joined by a Kentucky Oaks winning jockey, 2-time Kentucky Oaks winning jockey, the Hall of Famer Gary Stevens. Gary, the Kentucky Oaks still will be contested, postponed the first Friday in May. In September, but this is still an Oaks prep race. We'll get to the points a little bit later on. Wanted to focus on the matchup, though, between Venetian Harbor and British Idiom.
Well, I've got my Oaks pink on, Lafitte. It still feels like Oaks Day today. This matchup, we already know how good British Idiom is. She was 2-year-old champion last year, won the Breeders' Cup, hard-fought battle, but we don't know how good Venetian Harbor is yet. Her last 2 races have been so impressive, and she reminds me a lot of a filly that I rode, winning colors to win the Kentucky Derby. Same kind of style, just bounces to the lead, relaxes out in front, let the field come into you at the 3/8 pole, and then smoke the life out of them.
Which she's done. Venetian Harbor settled in at Oaklawn Park. It's the same question we'll have about the California boys tomorrow. Nadal, Charlatan, yes, they're undefeated, but they've never traveled or seen competition like this, Gary. And then British Idiom, the reigning 2-year-old filly champion. Her championship-winning performance back in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, it wasn't about brilliance. That was a battle of attrition over a very talented filly in Donna Veloce.
Yes, it was. When she broke out of the gate, Javier basically had the rider the entire trip. He was pumping with his hands, keeping her involved in the race, and she just wore down Donna Veloce in the last quarter of a mile, and it was a head-and-head battle. She showed a lot of heart that day, a lot of fight. She was late swapping into her right lead. You'll see her do it inside of the 16th pole, and when she does, she finds another gear. Right there, she is where she did that lead change. Head-and-head battle now, and she just wears Donna Veloce down.
That heavy, tiring track. They were just laboring on that particular afternoon. British Idiom. We will talk to her trainer later on in the show, Brad Cox. We're going to find out, Gary, how she'll respond to the first loss of her career in the Rachel Alexandra.
Well, I watched the Rachel Alexandra. She showed a lot of determination in there as well. She didn't have the best trip in the world. She had some early traffic problems. She was bottled up, and still she ran on, fought on hard.
Yeah, good effort.
But she was a lot more aggressive early on in that race than what she was last year. So we'll see today.
Full field, but that is the class of the Fantasy in Venetian Harbor and British Idiom. Post time around 6:09 Eastern. Speaking of which, today's race schedule, the Claiborne race schedule here on America's Day at the Races. It is all Oaklawn all the time. You'll see race 5 in just a moment. You'll see the remainder of the program. Live race number 9, the main event. Grade 3 Fantasy featuring Grade 1 talent. And look, as fired up as we are about this weekend's races, the good people at Naira Bets are inviting you to join and play for free. Maybe you're brand new to horse racing. Maybe you've never wagered on a horse race. You're thinking about trying. Why not do so with someone else's money, right? $20 free play today for new NYRABETS members. Sign up at nyrabets.com. And if you're going to be playing, you're going to need those past performances. We have you there covered as well. Get free information on all of today's races on our show with free Equibase past performances. On NYRABETS, visit nyrabets.com/Fox Sports to download your free PPs on all the races on today's show and every show this stellar weekend of thoroughbred racing. So big races coming up. But this one, race number 5, as we put those past performances to use and flip to race number 5, just a $32,000 for sale claiming race. Every runner available for $32,000, a mile and a 16th the distance. Older horses here, scratch number 4, Cold Truth, scratch number 9, looking for 8. So a field of 10 with DeGrom favored at 9-5. A lot of horses named after athletes these days. DeGrom, Nadal tomorrow afternoon. There's a Ginobili. That horse not named after an athlete. That is Land of the Pharaohs.
And those first 2 riders you saw, Ricardo Santana, Martin Garcia on the 2 horse, fighting out leading rider right now, the 3 horse. Malibu Pro, 3rd last time out.
Tash Kent, Joe Talamo, right in the thick of things in that jockey chase, that chase for an Oaklawn riding title, Gary. Then Croatian pictured Miggy Mena.
Yeah, and coming out of a stakes race last time out at Oaklawn Park, getting some class relief today.
Long-term relationship star jockey Joel Rosario.
Yeah, it's going to have to step it up. Dropping out of a starter allowance 50 in for 32 today. He's got to have a say in this.
Colonel Dark Templar, 1 for 11 lifetime at Oaklawn.
Yeah, and blinkers are coming off, trying to change something up for this 6-year-old horse.
Looking for 8, number 9, a scratch. Feudal, long shot, 22-1.
Kendrick Carmouche in from New York
he
this
was bored,
weekend to
sitting
ride.
around. He said, "Put me in, coach." Kendrick Carmouche in town. Nice long look there at Colonel Dark Templar. That cool of a name. You deserve that much camera time. Here's Feudal and Kendrick Carmouche.
Yeah, and he was claimed last time out by Mike Maker. Calvin Burrell rode last time. He's 3 for 12 at Oaklawn Park.
Exemplar, 52nd lifetime start.
He's yet to win a race this winter and spring at Oaklawn Park. 0 for 8 with a couple of place finishes.
Yeah, we know the pitcher is absolutely filthy. DeGrom. We'll see about this DeGrom for owner Bob Bone, the favorite. Wow, 8-5 now.
And Corey Lannery in town today, and David Fox, the trainer of this one, 9-2 on the morning line. Got a good chance in here. He's obviously at 3-2 right now. He was 3rd, beaten 2 1/4 last time out for 50, dropping in for 32. So that's why he's favorite, Lafitte.
It's so short, 3-2 on DeGrom. A lot of Mets fans playing the racing today at Oaklawn Park, firing in their new NYRABETS accounts, right? The $20 free play, all that money going in on DeGrom.
I like the 1 horse with Ricardo Santana.
Gigging?
Trade post positions, and I would like the 12 horse at 3-2. But that 12 post position, they're going a mile and a 16th. He's going to have to get over and save some ground going into that turn.
How can that? So we're looking at DeGrom and jockey Corey Lannery. So what would you do? You're Corey Lannery in the saddle. What would you do? We're looking at gigging, but still talking strategy. DeGrom, what would you do if you're Corey Lannery?
Look, this horse is a deep closer. He came from way off the pace last time to get beat 2 1/4 lengths. So his idea is let him break, but get over to the rail, save as much ground as you can going into that first turn. That's he's got to save some ground. Then you've got to worry about traffic, fight your way through that. But his best race, 3 races back, he was only a length off the lead, but they went very slow intermediate fractions in that race, and it allowed him to be closer. So what he's hoping for is a fast pace up in front of him to set it up.
As you were looking at gigging in Ricardo Santana, number 3, a Malibu Pro, Gary, a contender here. First start, or now with leading trainer Robertino Diodoro. Diodoro, a monster meet, and what a milestone. The 50 wins at Oaklawn Park. Few trainers have done so. Of course, there is more racing these days at Oaklawn Park. But Diodoro, in tomorrow's closing day, about to capture that first ever training title at Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, and he's so tough off the claim. He's running this horse right back for the 32,000 he was claimed for last time. But when he claims a horse, they win back at 31%. So he places his horses in good places. And seeing him come back for the 32, look, he's right back up for sale today. So Orlando Mojica has won a lot of races for Robertino this summer and winter, or this spring and winter, and he's back aboard today. So 7 for 38 lifetime with $231,000 in earnings. And you can add to that today.
They're going the wrong way, Gary. They are walking away from the starting gate there at Oaklawn Park, circling about, taking their time and letting everybody at home get their wagers in. These $32,000 claimers, mile and a 16th for older horses. What a big weekend of racing with the Fantasy and the Arkansas Derby. And here you have this $25 bonus. You can earn a $25 bonus if you hit the Fantasy Stakes today in a division of the Arkansas Derby tomorrow. To qualify, hit a $25 win bet on the Fantasy and a division of the Arkansas Derby on the Naira Bets app to earn a $25 bonus. If you hit a $25 win bet on the Fantasy in both divisions of the Arkansas Derby, you'll earn a $50 bonus. $50 bonus. Find details on this promotion and more at nairabets.com. If you have a strong opinion going into tomorrow's Arkansas Derby, the Fantasy, you got to take advantage of this.
Absolutely. It's giving away free money, Lafitte. Although the Fantasy today, listen, there's a lot of different things that could happen, a lot of different scenarios with the 13 horses. Venetian Harbor, she's never faced this many in a field before.
Never traveled.
No, but she's had some great workouts. She's been back there for quite some time. I know Richard Baltus, his trainer, been texting me on a regular basis, kind of keeping me updated on how she's doing. I know he's excited.
Is he confident?
He's not afraid of anybody. Just put it that way.
Wouldn't trade places with anybody. All right. We'll also be joined by trainer Brad Cox, trainer of British Idiom. And part of that conversation will be how strange this is. Cox is a Louisville native. He won the Kentucky Oaks a couple of years ago with Monomoy Girl. The British Idiom would have been a Kentucky Oaks filly. And for you, Gary, waking up to the first Friday in May, it's cemented into our brains, right? Kentucky Oaks. How strange is this for you to be watching? We're watching the racing and great racing at Oaklawn Park, but not to be watching the activity at Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Oaks.
Well, it won't be long since we're going to be able to watch some races at Churchill Downs. Yep. They're starting up on the 15th. It will be their first day of racing. So, hey, the Oaks is going to be in September, and these trainers, whether it's the Oaks or the Derby, they've got to figure out how they can keep these fillies at their peaks to get them to September and actually compete in the Oaks and the Kentucky Derby.
For the horses, they don't care, right? They were going to, many of these 3-year-old fillies, many of the boys, they were going to run on this weekend regardless at Churchill Downs and the Oaks. And the Derby, you'll have a chance to see them right here in the Fantasy and both divisions of tomorrow's Arkansas Derby. First things first, $32,000 claimers here in race number 5, Oaklawn Park. Let's see what Corey Lanerie does from the outside with DeGrom.
They're at the post. They're off. Feudal and Colonel's Dark Temper show good speed. Malibu Pro and Tashkent, Croatian between horses. These 5 race out. Now John Court takes hold of Colonel's Dark Temper and backs off. Gigging is next. Then comes DeGrom and long-term relationship with Exemplar. And the trailer is Land of the Pharaohs. So Malibu Pro is going to clear off to the backstretch, and he's got a 2-length lead over Tashkent in second. Croatian and Gigging are together third and fourth, and about 4 from the front, a length in front of Feudal. Then comes DeGrom. He's made his way to the rail. Nice move, Corey Lanerie, as DeGrom is saving ground into the backstretch. A length to Colonel's Dark Temper and Exemplar. Long-term relationship has 7 lengths to make up, and Land of the Pharaohs is the trailer, and Malibu Pro is the runaway leader. Malibu Pro to the half-mile pole. A 3-length lead over Tashkent in second. Croatian and Gigging continue to race third and fourth, and about 4 from the front. Feudal for Kendrick Carmouche is fifth now, and he's got 5 lengths to make up with DeGrom just inside of him. Exemplar is between those two. Then comes long-term relationship, Land of the Pharaohs and Colonel's Dark Temper, and Malibu Pro still in front. To the quarter pole, a 2-length lead over Tashkent in second. Croatian and Gigging are third and fourth still. Gigging stays at the rail for Santana. Land of the Pharaohs is moving up. He is closed all the way to midfield within 4 of the front, top of the stretch, and here comes Tashkent outside of Malibu Pro. Gigging is off the fence, and he's coming on. Between horses goes Land of the Pharaohs, and here comes Gigging outside of Tashkent. Going to be one of these two, Gigging and Tashkent. Tashkent ahead, Gigging is alongside, and Gigging is going to go by and win. Gigging beat Tashkent a half length. Long-term relationship finished third. Malibu Pro was fourth.
Significant win for a couple of reasons. Gary Stevens locked in. He liked Gigging going in, and no offense, Gary, but more importantly, Ricardo Santana now stretches his lead in the rider standings. That is victory number 58. He is 5 clear of Martin Garcia. Santana seeking a 7th riding title at Oaklawn Park tomorrow's closing day.
Yeah, and he puts one more between him and himself and Joe Talamo, who finished 2nd there on Tashkent. And nice ride from Ricardo. That's how he's been riding the whole meet. Strong, focused, and a strong finish.
That's got to be frustrating for Joe Talamo, his first season here at Oaklawn Park, riding a lot of horses tomorrow afternoon. And if he could have held off Santana and gigging, he would have been 4 short of Santana. Instead, Santana with a 6-win lead over Talamo, and again, a 4-win lead over Garcia. Gigging, Ricardo Santana, beautifully timed.
And I'm making him 3-5 favorite right now. This continue to be.
I'll take it.
Get his 7th leading rider title at Oaklawn Park.
By a former Preakness and Belmont Stakes winner in a Fleet, Alex Gigging, in race number 5 at Oaklawn Park. 1-5-7-3 results when we come back, and when we return, you will see a champion in action today. British Idiom. How will she respond after suffering the first defeat of her career? We'll find out this evening when she takes on 13 others in the Fantasy.
Challenge Derby presented by Run Happy. Running away in the Run Happy hopeful. But Tolly wins the Run Happy mid-mile. Have won the Run Happy Covers.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Since 1913, the Petaluma Creamery has believed that the best dairy products come from happy cows. It's why owner Larry Peter insists that every cow we milk is born and raised naturally to produce the finest non-GMO organic cheese and butter, like our delicious Spring Hill cheese, produced and shipped from here in California to anywhere you are. Visit springhillcheese.com and use promo code 10OFF to get $10 off your first order and enter to win free cheese for a year. Petaluma Creamery, the best dairy comes from the happiest cows.
This is America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by the brilliantly fast champion sprinter of 2015, Run Happy. Always race medication free, now making little Run Happies at Claiborne Farm. Let's go back to the start of race number 5, Gary. Oaklawn Park here. DeGrom the favorite on the far outside, kind of a sluggish start getting out of the blocks.
Yeah, and he hasn't showed any real speed his last couple of races, but I've said it and I'll say it again. No matter if you're on a horse that wants to come from off the pace or if you're on a front runner, a speed horse, if you break flat-footed like that, you're giving up 3-4 lengths at the finish, at the start. It's just a big disadvantage. You don't want to be breaking flat-footed, and for whatever reason, he's done that in his last couple of races. But in the meantime, the winner, Gigging, he got to save all the ground around the first turn. Ricardo finds a way out. He gets in that sweet spot on the racetrack. We've seen it the whole meet on these fast racetracks. When you get in that 4 and 5 path, it's a big advantage.
Big days, sometimes you have the speed bias and the lightning fast track. We have fair track on this afternoon. Horses coming from all over the place, gigging from well off the pace. Ricardo Santana, look at that. 5-1, over 11-1, over 12-1. That trifecta over $1,400. And Gary Stevens, $1,340 for gigging who you like.
Yeah, and how does that happen with Ricardo Santana aboard your leading rider?
That's the best question. Probably the best
That's like
question.
giving away money.
Yeah, Santana, another win leading rider. For us racing fans, it's easy, to have the blinkers on, focusing on the fact that there's no Oaks today, no Kentucky Derby tomorrow. But let's not lose sight of what Oaklawn has done here and really stepped up. That they noticed there was a void in the schedule once the Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby were postponed. They changed some things around. They moved some things around. These races were supposed to be run 3 weeks ago. So in the end, you're still seeing many of those horses that would have been running at Churchill Downs running this weekend at Oaklawn Park. For example, the Fantasy, today's main event. We take another look at the field. Race number 9, 3-year-old fillies running a mile and a 16th of a mile shorter than the Kentucky Oaks. Let's dive deeper on number 10, British Idiom. She won last fall's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. We've established that. She was crowned champion 2-year-old filly, Gary. So why does it feel like she has something to prove, coming off the first defeat of her career in the Rachel Alexandra in her 3-year-old debut?
Because they're supposed to move forward from their 2-year-old to 3-year-old year. Is she just the same 2-year-old that she was, or the same 3-year-old that she was as a 2-year-old? Did she take that step forward? Look at her run up on heels right here, Lafitte.
That didn't go well.
She's lucky that she didn't fall or stumble, and Javier Castellano had his hands full. When I said at the top of the show she was more aggressive than I've seen her, even in the Breeders' Cup. She was not that aggressive going into the first turn, and she's actually pulling Javier right now going into the backside. Whereas last year in the Breeders' Cup, he was having the urge, and I count this as a good sign that she's more focused. Possibly she was fresh off that Breeders' Cup layoff, and she had to tire here a little bit. As I mentioned, she was late swapping leads, and she's just really getting limber-legged right now.
Yeah, several factors, and maybe the rust, as Gary mentioned, traffic issues, ground loss both turns. Really good filly, beat her Finite on that afternoon. In the end, British Idiom really did run well, and training at Oaklawn Park now, preparing for this Fantasy. And Brad Cox, who really didn't sound all that surprised that she was defeated in her 3-year-old debut, expecting vast improvement. We'll have a chance to ask Brad about that in the next 20 minutes or so.
Well, you know what, Lafitte, you mentioned Finite. She ran the best race of her life, possibly her career. She came back. She ran so hard, she didn't fire the next time she ran. That's how good Finite ran. So it was a big race. To me, for a comeback race, she was still able to come on and run second when she was tired. She's not going to get tired today. She's got that race under her belt.
As good as Finite was on that afternoon today, British Idiom has to tangle with this monster. Her name, Venetian Harbor, who has won her last 2 starts by a devastating 19 3/4 lengths. Venetian Harbor installed as the 2-1 morning line favorite. Take a look at Venetian Harbor. This is the Las Virgenes victory. She has racing fans very, very excited, Garrett.
And she is fast leaving the blocks. She establishes a lead. She relaxes well. Flavien Prat knows her. He chose her over Donna Velucci if they were going to match up in the Santa Anita Oaks, which did not happen. So here he is back aboard today, makes the trip from California out to Oaklawn Park, and I'm excited to see both of these fillies knock heads this afternoon.
The heavyweight match. Tail of the tape, British Idiom, the one more start, one more win. You see the pedigree there, and very good trainers for both. British Idiom, Brad Cox. Again, Cox will be joining us momentarily. Venetian Harbor, Richie Baltas talking about this might be the most talented racehorse he has ever trained. And with that, we say hello to a friend we haven't seen in several weeks, New York Racing Association handicapper Andy Serling, joining us from Manhattan. Andy, welcome back. How you doing, my friend?
Last year, Lafitte, I think you and I were sitting in a beautiful
afternoon
in Oaklawn Park, right by the winner's circle.
We lost you for a second there. Andy, you with us?
Oh, I'm back.
Take two.
Nice to be
Welcome
back anyway. I'll try to stay here for a while, guys. I don't want to leave you that quickly. I'm looking forward to this Fantasy. It's an amazing race filling in for the Kentucky Oaks. I mean, it's hard to imagine who's really missing. I am not a British Idiom fan. I didn't like her last race, and I'm not sure she was really that good last year. I think it was more circumstance. Obviously, Venetian Harbor is the worst to beat. It'll be interesting to see because the horse she drowned in her last race is coming back in the prior race, the Gardenia. So I think people want to keep an eye on her and see how she runs. I think Bill Mott holds a couple of aces in this race. Now, one of them is Lake Avenue. A lot was said about her last race. We all had some disagreement. In my opinion, a mistake was made. Now, it may have been Joel Rosario. It may have been the connections. They didn't want to go to the lead. They took her back. it was a mistake. She's shown that she's a horse that really can't rate. So you have to think she's going to be aggressive today. Now, whether or not she's fast enough to run with Venetian Harbor remains to be seen. She's quick, but so is Venetian Harbor. I do think, though, that Lake Avenue will be more forward in this race. The one I like, though, is Harvey's Little Goyle. I'm a fan, and, I'm always going to be a little bit of a homer for the horse that races here in the winter, but hey, Princess of Silmar's run here in the winter and been successful. It's Tricky did it a few years ago, so some very good horses have run in the winter, and the Busan to win by Harvey's Little Goyle was very, very visually impressive. She didn't break that day. Now, she was wide around the track. It wasn't really that bad being wide. You might have been the best being a little bit off the rail that day at Aqueduct. But the fact that she never had any cover and she had to move prematurely, and she's just a dominant winner of that race last time, she'll have to improve to beat a horse like Venetian Harbor. I have no illusions. I also don't believe that Harvey's Little Goyle will be anywhere close to her 12-to-1 morning line. I'd be happy with half of it, and I think Harvey's Little Goyle is the major threat to upset a very talented Venetian Harbor. But guys, I'm just glad to be back and working with you guys. I've missed you.
It's great to have you back, Andy. You'll be with us the next couple of days. Coverage today, Fantasy Day from Oaklawn Park, and of course tomorrow for both divisions of the Arkansas Derby. It's also been too long since we've seen Maggie Wolfendale, also a New York Racing Association analyst, joins us from Long Island in New York. Maggie, welcome to the show. How are you doing? How's the growing family?
Well, they are keeping me busy during this time that we have to be indoors, but little Miss Willow, she'll be 3 months actually on Sunday, so time has flown by. I'm just pleased to be back on with you guys, no matter if it is from our home office here in Long Island.
Yeah, so she's only 3 months old, so the sister's like no Marsha stuff yet, right? Still too soon for all that?
Exactly. Grace is a very good big sister. She doesn't get jealous yet.
Not yet being the operative term, yeah. Maggie, a tough segue from your family to the racing today at Oaklawn Park. Wanted to get your take on this terrific fantasy, of which we're looking at many fillies that we would have been discussing in the Kentucky Oaks regardless.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you guys already touched on the champion. I mean, this is such a full field for what is a grade 2. And you touched on British Idiom. But Brad Cox sends out another horse in here, and She Dares the Devil, who already has some local experience in winning the Honeybee at Oaklawn Park. And I thought she did it in pretty impressive fashion last time out, in which she didn't break that alertly. And then she came on again and kind of, I mean, just really put the rest of that field away. So I thought she was patient in between horses. It was a performance that she could certainly build upon. And Brad Cox saying that, she's still eligible for a allowance race, but he says that she's training so well that he figured take another shot here at Graded Stakes Company. And furthermore, if you go 2 back, her race was against a Juddmonte horse that returned and won the Fairgrounds Oaks in her next start. So I think she's faced some nice horses, and she also will rematch against Altia's Award, who's on the outside for Steve Asmussen, and she's done little wrong in her races. She'll have to improve and get a little faster, but she's never finished worse than 3rd, and I thought she ran well in defeat last time in the Honeybee. 2 horses coming in with the local experience at Oak on Lafitte.
And Maggie, solid addition of the local prep for the fantasy, the Honeybee, and we'll have a chance to ask Brad Cox just those very questions about She Dares the Devil, British Idiom, his 2 fillies, powerful 1-2 punch in the upcoming fantasy. Gary, can we read anything into that Cox is starting both? He has the reigning champ trying to get her back on track, British Idiom, and he runs She Dares the Devil, she's very good in her own right.
Well, I think that you can read into he really likes both of them, and she deserves the chance to try the champion. She's done nothing wrong. That was for her to have won the last race. She had all kinds of trouble in there, had every right to hang it up, and she showed a lot of bravery and gained a lot of experience from what she had to go through in the stretch last time out and get up and win. So she deserves a spot in the starting gate.
Relentless run from She Dares the Devil. So many storylines, so many subplots. Exciting edition of the fantasy on this would-be Kentucky Oaks Friday, this first Friday in May. And an added incentive, you can earn a $25 bonus If you hit the fantasy stakes today and a division of the Arkansas Derby tomorrow, to qualify, hit a $25 win bet on the fantasy and a division of the Arkansas Derby on the Naira Bets app to earn a $25 bonus. If you hit a $25 win bet on the fantasy in both divisions of the Arkansas Derby, you'll earn a $50 bonus. Find details on this promotion and more at nairabets.com. Great to have Andy and Maggie back. And when we come back, the Colts with a talent. Famous name and unblemished record, Nadal. He's already won the Rebel at Oaklawn Park, 5-2 morning line favorite in tomorrow's second division of the Arkansas Derby.
Eclipse champion Blame. Ranked among the top stallions of his crop, Blame has sired over 50 stakes horses. His recent top performers include Kentucky Derby hopefuls Shotsky, winner of the Grade 2 Rimson Stakes, and rising star Nadal, a $700,000 juvenile purchase and winner of the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes. Plus recent Grade 1 performers Mississippi, Alandra, and Natalma Stakes winner Abscond. Outstanding value, outstanding results. Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Nobody wants to fall into a safety net, but when adversity or hardship presents itself, it beats the alternative. Since 1943, the Jockey Club Safety Net Foundation has been serving those individuals and families in need across every facet of the thoroughbred industry. Help us continue to be the safety net and catch those most in need. Visit tjcfoundation.org to learn more.
You're watching America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. You can stare at those images all afternoon, right? The foals at Claiborne, first steps with Mom, the faces of the future. In our future, a very good maiden race at Oaklawn Park. Take a look at the field shortly. There is Ines Gluyere and the back of Steve Asmussen. I couldn't wait to see Ines Gluyere. He raves about this horse physically. He said you have to see him to believe it. He is that absolutely beautiful. Ines Gluyere, as far as the wagering, he's 9-2, not the favorite. Again, a very good maiden. This race is about potential. You're looking at several well-bred, inexperienced prospects, 3-year-olds about to sprint 3/4 of a mile on away. The 6-5 favorites. Let's get back to Ines Gluyere. And Maggie, we need you normally in the paddock now with these horses. It's all about the inexperience and your eye seeing them up close and personal, and we're asking you to do it from Long Island.
Yeah, I have the Oaklawn feed on. I'm waiting for him to come around. He hasn't come around yet, so I'll have to keep my eye on him and how he is out on the racetrack. It's torture trying to watch horses on a little tiny TV screen when I'm so used to being in the paddock. But Ines Gluyere, at least we can watch his sales workout, albeit it's been over a year since this occurred, but he did work 9-4 at the OBS March sale. That's why you see that big purchase price of $825,000 for this horse, who is by Bernardini, who obviously he speaks for himself. He's a very accomplished sire. He seems to throw horses that are very willing to run short, long, whatever distance on the dirt. And the dam was actually a multiple graded stakes winner on the turf. So I'm a little bit concerned about overall surface, but Bernardini that influenced her in sprinting on it for the first time. He was very quick in that workout, as we saw. Quick, really efficient stride, covered a lot of ground, and as you said, Lafitte, he's an imposing physical, according to Steve Asmussen, and you can see it when he was just a 2-year-old, and now he's a 3-year-old, so you have to think that he's gone on and matured. So I'm a little bit skeptical of the fact that he's not taking more money in the face of Onway. We'll see if he does drift down a bit more in that respect. I would say he'd be live, and Steve Asmussen, he's great with the time starting sprinter, hitting about 27% with a positive $3 ROI.
Yeah, you see the stats there, the number that, excuse me, Steve Asmussen puts up there, and with Ines Gluyere, he said if big, beautiful, and fast were all that mattered in thoroughbred racing, Ines Gluyere would be just fine. But as Maggie mentioned, he's a contender, 9-2, but not taking the kind of action that Onway is, who we'll see in the post parade at 6-5. Maidens, horses that have never won, but again, about promise. These horses, some well-bred horses. Ines Gluyere, who Maggie mentioned, was purchased for $825,000. You have a chance to see him in the post parade. Why not start with the 8? There he is, the feature, Gary, a 3-year-old debut. Yeah, and that was at Hawthorne Park. He was got beat 11 lengths running third that day. He was 13-1 on a big price today. 42-1, the feature. I have no idea who's going to be next. All right, now maybe we go in order. We'll start with, there he is, Fast Cash, Maximum Securities owners, Gary and Mary West. Yeah, and this horse, he started one time, and it wasn't a bad race. He finished 5th, beaten 6 lengths. Serbian Sailor, one of 5 first-time starters, frozen on the board 85-1. Gary, number 3, Fleetwood Shack. Name alone, you have to root for this one. Yeah, this is his second time out, first time as a 3-year-old. Number 4, High Proof, 3-year-old debut. Same thing here, yeah. 5th, beaten 13, first time out. Didn't show a whole lot. Kickin' Kirby, 17 years ago tomorrow. Trainer Nick Zito won the first and only Kentucky Oaks of his career with Mary Lou Whitney's Birdtown. Kickin' Kirby at 39-1. There's Solardi, the Rockingham Ranch debuting colt. Yeah, and he's got some fast workouts here. Looking for him to come out firing today. He's going to show some speed early on. Mondacious, Kendrick Carmouche from New York to ride. Yeah, and solid workouts here. Gets Lasix for first time out. We saw the feature. So there's number 9, Super Constitution by Red Hot Stallion Constitution. Yeah, and nice works on this one as well. The 113-2 gate work at Oaklawn Park on the 24th of April. Onway, welcome back, Javier Castellano. Yes, sir, welcome back. And this one getting bat all the way. It was slow out of the gate last time, but ran on to be 4th, beaten 4 lengths. Vasariano, Southern California transplant. Yeah, beaten double figures first 2 times out. Bob Baffert had him. He's running for Phil D'Amato today. Ines Gluyere, there he is, $825,000 first-time starter for Steve Asmussen. He looked really athletic in that workout at the OBSL, dropping into that turn, going full tilt after going 9-4, dropped into it like he knew what he's doing, and he'd done it all his life. That is the field for the 6th race on the Fantasy Undercard. Quality group of maidens, non-winners, sprinting 3/4 of a mile, and Onway, who is the favorite at 6-5. Onway, we're looking for him, so you can get a nice look at Onway. And when you do see him, he's going to be ridden by Hall of Fame jockey Javier Castellano. There is Castellano, who tested positive for COVID-19 several weeks back, had no idea he was sick. He was simply following protocol, went in for a routine checkup to ride at Gulfstream Park in Florida and learned he had coronavirus. He was shocked, Gary, after a lot of isolation, a lot of quarantine. Castellano was back, healthy, and cleared to ride. My question for you is rust. Is there a rust factor when it comes to jockeys after a lot of downtime? Look, he's a Hall of Famer. He's come back from injury before. He knows what it takes. I'm sure he's very focused today and very excited to be back on the racetrack after being quarantined for so long. This is what he was born to do. He loves what he's doing. But hey, he's like Andy Serling. Andy's been off. We haven't seen him for a while. He never dropped the ball at all. This guy, he came back on his game. Andy's sharp and still with us. Andy, we're still looking at Onway. What do you make of his chances as he's getting crushed at the windows, even money?
I'm not sure what my game is, by the way, that I'm back on. So that's really the question. Yeah, Onaway is probably the horse to beat. A couple of things. He didn't break that sharply in his first race, and then was kind of one of those horses, and I know Gary's familiar with this, having ridden so many firsters, especially good ones, that just wasn't sort of ready first time out, you know, and kind of be ridden to get in the race. And he ran fine. I think some people are a little confused seeing that the first three finishers of his debut came back to win, and they may elevate it with that old key race angle, which I'm not a huge proponent of, because all the horses that came back to win were short prices, and none of them ran any better than they did in his race. So I don't think it's necessarily a stronger race than it looks. I just think his horse is going to improve, but 6-5 doesn't do it for me. I'm very interested in Fast Cash on the rail. If you watch his first race, there was a bunch of speed horses in the race, and it really felt as though Tyler Bays, they didn't want to be aggressive with him. And it's understandable because he was a firster, there was other speed, so he kind of reined him in a bit. And I think he ran okay, and he got a little intimidated behind horses. And given that he wasn't really comfortable in his position, he didn't run badly. He never really conceded. He just couldn't pick up ground. They have no choice, assuming he breaks today, but to go from the inside. And I think there's a very good chance that Fast Cash will be the inside speed. Now, I think that Onaway, like most second-time starters, is going to have more speed today. But I think Fast Cash is an interesting horse as a decent-priced alternative to the favorite Onaway. I bet him to win. I bet him in exactas, mostly with Onaway, and played some tries as well. But I think Fast Cash is an interesting alternative, guys.
Yeah, but Andy, how much better would you feel about him from an outside post, like buried down on the inside again? He had the 2 in his debut.
Well, look at it this way. If he gets left for post 11, is that good? And if he's a speed and other guys go, I mean, I think I have to hope that he breaks cleanly, but you have to hope in any position. I think a lot of people get overly concerned with horses breaking from the rail in these races. And that old misnomer that the rail is a terrible draw for firsters is completely disproven by actual statistics. Like a lot of stuff we hear at the racetrack. So I'm not as concerned about it as some people. But listen, if there's 3 other speeds, and even if he breaks and he gets hounded, that's the way it goes. But you know what, Lafitte? He wasn't probably winning that circumstance from post 10.
Penny, for your thoughts, Gary Stevens.
I don't like the rail on first-time starters, and I don't. No, and I don't like it when they draw back. I mean, he was in the 2-hole last time. Now he drops back in the 1-hole, and like Andy said, he didn't look like he was real comfortable with those conditions. Did he learn anything about it? Well, he probably learned that he didn't like it down inside, but he stuck right back in there today. But he looked like he's sharp on his toes. One positive, there's a bunch of first-timers in here that you can expect. They're not going to be as sharp probably first time out, but the 11 horse or the 12 horse, the big purchase with Santana. If I can get that price at 5-1 again with that outside draw, I'll take that.
I'm practicing all week. Ines Gliere, Maggie. Onaway, though, does have that edge, that one race under his belt to build off of.
Yeah, and Lafitte, look, I'm judging warm-ups off of a very small iPhone in which I'm watching, but I'm not overly way. He was warmed up by Javier Castellano away from the pony, so you'd have to think they're trying to get him to break a little bit more alertly, but he never really got in the bridle. I mean, he never really was pushing off from behind. He looks extremely fit, but I'd also like him to be carrying maybe a little bit more flesh, a little bit more of that rounded hindquarter to him, whereas the first-time starters, and Andy's horse, I must say, the horse on the rail looked great in his warm-up, but the first-time starter, Ines Gliere, as you were saying, I think it's Irish, but I'm not totally sure about that. Mentioned, as you were saying, Lafitte, he's gorgeous. I mean, he's rounded up into a frame. But the other first-time starter that kind of caught my eye is number 9, Super Constitution. A little bit lower profile connections, but does get Joe Talamo aboard. Now, this horse is by Constitution, and last year, for his freshman crop, Constitution was throwing runner after runner, and if this was the heading into the first Saturday in May, i.e. the Kentucky Derby, then I think we'd see a son of Constitution being one of the favorites in 'Tis the Law. So this Son of Constitution, Super Constitution, the Dam actually was a pretty good Louisiana-bred runner. So I like the way he looked out on the racetrack as well. Maybe he'll need to raise fitness. He looked a little bit soft, but I like the way he's put together. He looked athletic. He looked professional as well in those warm-ups.
Even from Long Island, Maggie Wolfendale, eagle eye, looking at the first-time starters, trying to judge and gauge their body language and what they're telling us, the viewer, in terms of tipping their hand maybe to a first-time starter that might be ready for a big performance in that debut in Super Constitution. As Maggie mentioned, she's picking up on some positive vibes there.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing out there on the racetrack from him. I don't know if he's got his mind all on running, though. He's paying a lot of attention to that pony horse right now, taking some cheap shots at him, trying to nip him on the neck. And
poor pony, man.
Yeah, the poor pony taking the abuse from him. And Joe Talamo doing a good job just hanging loose on him, not really reprimanding him for what he's doing. Today's not the day to school him on that. That's in the morning times. But yeah, he looks great out there on the racetrack.
Do you do anything differently in the saddle of a young, inexperienced horse, specifically a first-time starter as a jockey?
Look,
in the warm-up.
Yeah, I mean, you stay alert on him. These are unusual circumstances right now because you're not dealing with the crowd. And
that's a good point.
And so this is really a positive thing. But when things get back to normal, that's when it's going to be like the first-time starter. When they go into that paddock and it's loud, there's raucous.
Who are all these people?
Because normally what they do is they school these horses in the morning before they ever run, and school them in the afternoon, so they can get a taste of it before they actually put that saddle on them. They might start schooling them 2 weeks before they're going to run. Sure. They do it several times, so they're not in shock and awe when they go in there for the first time. So when these horses, these first-time starters of today, when they come back and say a month and a half, let's hope it's a month and a half. I don't want to put a time frame on it, but when we've got crowds and fans there, that's going to be like their first start.
Yeah, what we do know is that typically, even though Arkansas Derby Fantasy was supposed to be 3 weeks ago, typically there would be 60,000 strong at Oaklawn Park for their marquee event between tomorrow's Arkansas Derby and today's Fantasy. I'm kind of hoping, On Away runs well here for trainer Brad Cox, just so, he's in a good mood when he joins us in about, 10 minutes or so.
That Brad's always in a good mood.
Brad Cox joining us shortly thereafter, talking about his big weekend ahead today with British Idiom in the Fantasy, and tomorrow the boys come out for the Arkansas Derbies and Warriors Charge in the Oaklawn Handicap, the biggest race for older horses at Oaklawn Park. We're all set. Maiden sprinting 3/4 of a mile. These are 3-year-olds. On away, the favorite, number 10, Vic Stauffer with the call.
Two more now left to load. Inish Glora and Salardi. They're at the post. They're off. Vasariano and Kickin' Kirby, Solardi and High Proof. Onaway breaks midfield. Super Constitution and Inish Glora next. Fast Cash and Fleetwood Shack with the feature, followed by Mundacious, and the trailer is Serbian Sailor. It is High Power just in front of Solardi in second. Super Constitution and Fast Cash are in tight spots. So is Fleetwood Shack. Inish Glora to the outside, moves outside of Onaway, and Kickin' Kirby's inside those two. Onaway's in a tough spot, and he had to check their off heels. Onaway loses ground, leaving the backstretch. He's passed by the feature and Mundacious, and at the back of the pack, it's Serbian Sailor. Match racing at the top of the stretch, 3 of them. It can't be a match race with 3 of them, but it's Super Constitution, at the rail High Power, and between horses Solardi. Then it's 3 lengths further back to Inish Glora. Onaway is not going to get there. He's midfield, and Super Constitution has the lead. High Power is battling, High Proof is battling back, and now these two will decide it. Super Constitution outside. High Proof at the rail. They are coming to the wire together. High Proof, Super Constitution. High Proof just in front. High Proof beat Super Constitution. Fleetwood Shack was 3rd, Salati 4th.
High Proof. At what price? I don't know. He was 20 to 1 on the morning line. Out duels Super Constitution. Maggie told you might be live going in. He ran A big race only to be outdueled late by High Proof at 36-1. And for Joe Talamo right in the thick of things for that jockey title, 2 straight frustrating second place finishes.
Man, what a gutty performance from 4-horse High Proof with Walter De La Cruz aboard. Got past, got headed. He was taking the worst of it around the turn, down on the inside. You know what? He was liking it down in there. He's a fighter. And second race of his lifetime, first time as a 3-year-old. And he really developed since his first race last year.
He was 37-1 in his debut, and a slop at Churchill Downs. Another look, low level, High Proof inside De La Cruz. High Proof De La Cruz with the hand ride. Talamo on the outside doing everything he can with Super Constitution, but High Proof digs in, finds more. Wouldn't be denied.
Yeah, Super Constitution, keep your eye out on him next time. This is a nice colt, first-time starter. Had to get a little bit tired for the first experience of his lifetime. It was a good one.
4, 9, 3, 6. That's 36-1, over 7-1, over 25-1, over 9-1. Bombs away in race number 6 at Oaklawn Park, and High Proof in an upset at 36-1. When we return, we will be joined by trainer Brad Cox. Didn't go that well for Onaway in that 6th race. I'm sure he'll be in a good mood anyhow. Cox poised for a big weekend. 2-year-old filly champ today, British Idiom. And the boys tomorrow in the Arkansas Derby and the Oaklawn Handicap.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Very excited to see them come on out and performing and looking just like him, act like him, sleep and eat like Run Happy. They're pretty nice horses. Right now they're fast and working, and it's exciting to see when they go out running.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, where we are pleased to welcome in a brand new sponsor to America's Day at the Races, Petaluma Creamery, makers of Spring Hill cheese, offering a wide variety of 100% organic, non-GMO cheeses and delicious butter too. Michelle had some of that cheese on the set last week. She was raving about it. There you see Petaluma Creamery there, and then you had some as well.
Yeah, I had some sent to the house. I'm going to tell you what.
Who sent it to you?
Petaluma Creamery. Sent a whole box.
Hello?
Unbelievable. The spicy, it's like, if you like spice, it's some kind of good.
I didn't get anything.
On the way, happened to steady right here, Lafitte, the 10
Number
horse.
10, the favorite. What happens?
And he's got his feet in the dashboard right now. That's Javier Castellano. He's run up on hills. It's a bad part of the race to have this happen. He's got a horse on the outside. He's running up on the 9 horses hills. That's Joe Talamo on Super Constitution. Steady, 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 losing valuable links. Now he gets the squeeze put on himself. Not a great trip, so that's a throw-out race, and hopefully Brad Cox will be able to tell us something about it.
Yeah, so Cox is talking to Javier Castellano as we speak. We'll have Cox on the show momentarily. Deep stretch, High Proof. This came out of nowhere, Gary, the 36-1 upsetter, and right when you think Super Constitution's going to go right on by, High Proof continues to find more.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Onaway, had he not had that trouble, he was going to have a hard time getting past either one of these 2 horses as they were drawing off from the field at the end. And a good, look at that, $74.
36-1, and High Proof was actually pulling away from him late.
Yeah, he was. I look forward to seeing him stretch out.
for Talamo. What was a super payouts, massive payouts with that upset in race number 6 at Oaklawn Park. As we are now joined by one of the finest young trainers in the game, Brad Cox is with us from Oaklawn Park. Brad, thanks so much for taking the time. What did Javier Castellano tell you after that trip, that trouble trip with Onaway that we just saw in the 6th race?
You got him in a little bit of a tight spot. I mean, the horse is not the quickest horse out of the gate. He actually did break well, but he kind of lost position early, and he kind of took him up into a tight spot, kind of checked out of it a couple different times, and I think, it's when you just draw a line through and regroup and, just mark it off and look for the next one.
Look for you. Onaway, the next time he resurfaces. Brad, I wanted to start with the idea. You're a Louisville native. You won the Kentucky Oaks a couple of years ago with Monomoy Girl. A British Idiom would have been running in the Kentucky Oaks today. How strange is this for you, a first Friday in May and not being at Churchill Downs, no Kentucky Oaks this afternoon?
Yeah, first time it's obviously happened, since I've been keeping up with racing or been in racing. So, yeah, it's odd. I mean, to be the first time I've ever been in Hot Springs in May. So, it's just, things have changed a little bit this year. They're gonna, something we're dealing with, and I think everyone's adjusting well, and hopefully we can be back on track with racing throughout the country here shortly.
It's uncharted territory for all of us. The good news, Brad, this weekend there is an alternative. Let's start with British Idiom in today's fantasy. How do you expect her to respond after her first career loss in the Rachel Alexandra?
She'll move forward. I really do think she'll move forward with her numbers, and I think that makes her very competitive today. I think we got to get a good trip, and confidence in Javier. He's obviously rode her in all 4 starts. She's training extremely well and has been here at Oaklawn for well over a month and prepared for this race, and she's doing well.
What about, Brad, it's Gary Stevens here. What about Wells Bayou tomorrow? Tough draw on the outside, a lot of speed in there. What's the plan there?
It'll ultimately be up to Florent. This horse's first couple steps out of the gate are fast. He does know how to pop out of the gate well. He was able to do that in his first start at Keeneland. He's done it in all of them. We'll see. He'll have the option to look to his left and kind of see what people are doing. I feel like, he'll be either on the lead or pressing someone going into the first turn, hopefully not hung too wide if we're not on the lead, and just kind of see how things go. We're going to ask him to run away from there. That's his style. I think he can carry his speed going a mile and an eighth. He did it going a mile and 3/16 last time. But, we don't want to commit suicide either going into the first turn and around the first turn. So, it'll ultimately be up to Florent. But the horse is doing really well. He's working every bit as well leading up to this race as he was the Louisiana Derby, so we expect a big effort out of him.
Brad, they showed a picture of some video of Monomoy Girl in the winner's circle after winning the Kentucky Oaks. And I'd like to know how she's doing, where she's at right now, and what the plan is with her.
She's at Keeneland. She's been on a weekly work schedule. She's going to work again tomorrow morning at Keeneland. She's doing fantastic. We're just need some races in the near future. She's very close to being ready to run, and very happy with where she is and how she's training and her attitude. Obviously, she's sound as can be, and just very happy to have her in the barn. And it's neat to see her respond the way she has. And I know she hasn't raced in a while, but she's really, really doing well. I'm excited about her.
We could literally spend 30 minutes with you here, Brad. We won't do it. Real quickly, though, you have 2 fillies actually in the fantasy. She Dares the Devil. Quickly, what can you tell us about her in terms of expectation this afternoon?
A lot. We expect a lot out of her. She's a nice filly. She really is. She didn't receive a big figure in the Honeybee. She saved some ground. We did run her back in 3 weeks. It was something like 3 weeks. But she's really doing well. I think she's a really nice filly, and if she gets a good trip, she'll be in the mix for sure. She's a very talented filly, very good workhorse, and she's shown nothing but promise and trained very well since we picked her up in November.
I lied to you, Brad. One more. Warriors Charge in tomorrow's Oaklawn Handicap. It's not my fault you trained so many good horses, man.
He's somebody could break the record here, but he's really doing well. He's a nice workhorse. There's pace in that race as well. I don't think the mile and an eighth is an issue. I think just trying to get him to relax, and I think he will. I mean, he relaxed well in his last start. He's had plenty of time to recover from that. we've been pointing for this race. This is our goal since last fall, since he came back and was training well. And he's really doing well. I mean, I'm excited about this horse, and he's, you know, I think, you know, he's got to have some things go his way up front. I think he has to be on the lead, but, you know, just, you know, have to get him to relax early, and if he does, he's going to be very tough.
Brad, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck this weekend, and stay healthy, my friend.
Good luck, Brad.
Thanks, Lafitte. Thanks, Gary. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.
Brad Cox joining us here on America's Day at the Races. Gary, this is uncharted. Whether somebody's been training for 6 months or 60 years, for all these horsemen, uncharted territory, so difficult trying to prepare horses for the unknown.
Yeah, just got the condition book being written for Churchill Downs right now, and I'm excited to have racing slowly get back. Going to be fan-free, and it is different, but yeah, these trainers trying to figure out where they're going to go. And with the limited number of racetracks that are running right now, with the when the fairgrounds was finished racing, those horses are still at the fairgrounds. They're going to be allowed to ship in later on this week. But the horses from Oaklawn Park, they're going to be stuck there for a little bit and trying to get horses to Lone Star Park and these different places throughout the country that are starting to race back right now.
Brad Cox, British Idiom, She Dares the Devil in the Fantasy, and of course, well-represented Wells Bayou in tomorrow's first division of the Arkansas Derby. Of course, both divisions of the Arkansas Derby, the America's Best Racing's Race of the Week. Let's take a look at the field for the second division of the Arkansas Derby, the stronger of the two races. 3-year-olds running 1 1/8, the purse $500,000. We will get to the Kentucky Derby points later. Nadal will break from post position number 5, 5-2, morning line favorite, to his inside number 4, King Guillermo, Tampa Bay Derby winner, second choice, 3-1. And as we just discussed with Brad Cox, the colt he trains on the extreme outside, Gary, Wells Bayou, wire-to-wire winner of the Louisiana Derby 6 weeks ago. Gonna be tougher tomorrow with more heat, more pace.
It is going to be tougher for him tomorrow with the extra pace in here. And is he rateable? I don't know. My sources that are watching him train back there are telling me that he's been very aggressive in the mornings, that he takes a stronghold when he's training in the morning. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe he's just quicker than the rest of these, but Nadal he's super fast.
But if you're in the saddle, Wells Bayou, Gary, and you have the green light to do whatever you want, doors pop open, what do?
I let him roll away from there. See, look over to the left, like Brad said, take a look to my competition inside, see who's being pushed, who's not being pushed, and if they're going to allow me to take the lead, I take it and then try and slow down the pace.
And then Nadal, pretty quick leaving the gates as well. This was the Rebel Stakes, mid-March at Oaklawn Park in the slot. Nadal, Gary, finding more to give when most would have given it up.
Yeah, look, they went fast fractions in that race. They went 22-4, 46 flat, and he was under pressure. He was taking heat the whole way. This was his first time going 2 turns. We saw how he handled it, and he had to improve off of that, Lafitte.
As for Nadal's Arkansas Derby preparation, Gary, this was last Sunday. Nadal breezing 5/8 of a mile in 59-1, the fastest of 46 works of that morning at the same distance.
Yeah, Bob Baffert shot me a text later on that morning. I asked how they worked, and he said he's in beast mode.
Beast mode.
And you watch him when he hits the head of the stretch. He's under heavy restraint right now, not being let run, just trying to keep him relaxed until he straightens out into the stretch. He finishes up very strong, had a pretty strong gallop out into the turn. And he's fun to watch come through the stretch, Lafitte.
And you can see that Baffert's been asking him to pick it up and do a little bit more, and really rounding into this race. And something that, listen, anybody can tell you this. It's part of the reason Baffert has had so much success with these 3-year-olds, so good at getting them to peak at just the right time.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this horse is his last several works have been, he's putting behind horses, and a lot of them catch him just playing a little cat and mouse through the stretch, giving him a treat right there at the finish line, letting him do what he wants to do and go on with the work.
Andy, for many handicappers, first division of the Arkansas Derby, it feels like charlatan or bust. This second division might have to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, no, I agree, Lafitte. Nadal is the horse to beat, and it'd be foolish to say he isn't. If he were the 5-2 morning line, which I think there's no chance he'll be anywhere close to, I'd bet him. But it's a little bit more difficult in here because of Wells Bayou. Now, I think that he's faster than Wells Bayou, but I think that Wells Bayou will be ridden a little more aggressively. It'll be interesting because they're going to be moving up front. And while Nadal ran very well last time, surviving what was a reasonable pace, I mean, it was the same pace that Serengeti Empress set one race earlier in her big victory, to be fair. But he was also on the rail, which was the place to be that day. He's got some competition. King Guillermo was very good last time. I think Storm the Court, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, has a chance to move forward here. I also think Silver Prospector, though, will be the one at the best price if you want to try to beat him. And I'll be using all 4 of these in the pick 5 while singling Charlatan. But, you know, Silver Prospector, listen, he had a perfect trip in the race you're going to watch when he won a couple of races ago in the Southwest. Came out from the inside, angled out, got the job done, and he beat Wells Bayou. I don't like Wells Bayou at all in this race. If he wins, I lose. Silver Prospector, I think a couple questions are, is he going to get better with more distance? We'll find out tomorrow. That's a reasonable question, but I think it's fair to say that he does not handle a sloppy or muddy sealed track at Oaklawn, because that fast track effort was so much better than his other 2 races, both on wet tracks this year, that you have to think there's probably the wet track played a role. I know he handled a wet track at Churchill, but no 2 wet tracks are the same. And I'm going to hope a fast track tomorrow helps Silver Prospector run a lot better to price, and he's one I'll be using among the contenders.
Now, Brad Cox isn't going to do these interviews, Andy, if you don't like British Idiom, you don't like Wells Bayou. It's a story.
I'm good with Brad. I'm not worried at all. He's probably happy I don't like his horses. He should be.
Andy Serling says, look out for Silver Prospector. He is on one of those every other patterns. He follows his best races after the subpar performances. If that's the case, bodes well for his chances today. Maggie Wolfendale still with us from Long Island. Maggie, your thoughts on this second, stronger, deeper division of tomorrow's Arkansas Derby?
I am so excited for this division. There's several horses that look as though they are ultra talented, and 2 of them are posted right next to each other in Nadal, who you guys are talking about, as well as King Guillermo. Now, both of these horses, with the addition, as Andy was saying, with Wells Bayou, have some pace, but it feels as though, as you guys are talking about, with Nadal, they're trying to teach him to rate, and it seems as though Baffert is very confident in him being able to do so. And 2, King Guillermo, he can rate too, and with that powerhouse performance that he displayed in the Tampa Bay Derby, what I like about this horse is that his personality, and he is owned by MLB All-Star Victor Martinez, and he said, I love this horse because he's a little fighter. And he is. You watch this horse's body language down the backside. A horse came up on his inside. He pinned his ears and got back into the bridle. And he just won with such authority over some nice horses. I mean, he was 49-1 going back to that Tampa Bay Derby. But still, that performance looked as though he should have been at least 4-1, if not lower. I like this horse moving forward. He can rate, he's drawn towards the inside, he can save ground. And 2, what a cool story. I mean, name for Victor Martinez's late father, King Guillermo, and 2, his trainer, Juan Carlos Avila, a champion Venezuelan, as he is same country as Victor Martinez, but has only been training here in the States for 2 years, and he already has a horse that very well could be on the road, albeit in September, to the Kentucky Derby.
He's been raving about King Guillermo and his preparations for this Arkansas Derby. It is a great story, as Maggie mentioned, again, owned by 5-time Major League All-Star Victor Martinez. Sometimes 50-1 shots win, and you watch the race, and you're okay, that was flukish. Forget about the fact that he was 49-1. When you watch the race, that did not look fluky at all.
No, it didn't, and he was digging coming through the stretch. His action, you can tell when horses are laboring. The last 8th of a mile, he was looking for more ground. He sprinted home.
King Guillermo in that second division of the Arkansas Derby. Tomorrow, live coverage right here on America's Day at the Races. Both divisions of the Arkansas Derby. Charlatan, Division 1. Nadal, favorite, Division 2. Both trained by 5-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer Bob Baffert. Back to the fantasy undercard and this 7th race, these Arkansas breds and stakes racing. Arkansas Breeders' Champion Stakes, the purse here, $165,000. You see the odds on the bottom part of the screen, and All kinds of money showing up here on KJ's Nobility. Wow, opened up at 5-2, 3-5, moments away from this post parade.
Yeah, but for Calvin Burrell's riding for his brother Cecil Burrell, horse has earned over $400,000. He loves Oaklawn Park. He's won 6 races there. So, yeah, that's why they're jumping all over him. But I think there's some other horses in here that are big prices that shouldn't be.
Some love for the horses that were bred locally, the Arkansas breds. This Arkansas Breeders' Champion Stakes, $165,000 is the purse, 3-year-olds and older. Arkansas Breeders' Champion Stakes and 3-5 KJ's Nobility, as you mentioned, for the Burrell brothers. Cecil, the trainer, 3-time Derby-winning jockey Calvin Burrell in the saddle. We start with Promising Shoes. Ricardo Santana, so close to capturing that 7th Oaklawn riding title with the rest of today's activity closing day tomorrow. Supercharger pictured.
Yeah, and Martin Garcia, Ricardo Santana playing musical chairs here. Martin rode the one Promising Shoes last time and vice versa.
KJ's Nobility, no double winner, odds on.
No, and this horse, he has good running style, sits just off of the pace, but he is stretching off of 3 straight sprint races.
Number 4, Amazing Destiny, has rattled off 2 straight, currently 7-1. Tyler Bay's in the saddle, leading trainer Robertino Diodoro. Gary, number 5, Prospector Fever, in the money, 21 of 26 lifetime.
21 of 26, $107,000 in earnings, coming off of a 3rd-place finisher behind Supercharged last time out.
J.E.'s hand-me-down, 4th in the no double.
Yeah, 4th in the no double. He was a decent price that day, 13-1. Came running.
Destiny Way, number 7, disappointed in the no double.
Yeah, and he's trying 2 turns for the first time. He was beating 13 lengths last time out.
Number 8, Heritage Park, kind of a theme, also disappointed in the no double.
2 for 8 lifetime, 2 for 5 at Oaklawn Park, coming off that disappointing out last time after setting the pace early on.
Number 9, Bandit Point, leading apprentice Kelsey Haar in the saddle.
Ran against Open Company last time out and finished 5th, beating a length, and one of the best performances of his career under Kelsey.
She's riding well, Kelsey Haar. Glacken's Ghost, a 3rd at 21-1 in the no double.
Yeah, ran way better than what the odds showed. Set just off the pace. Look forward to seeing him laying close to the lead today.
Man in the can, talented, but conceding a lot in experience.
Yeah, and again, first time trying 2 turns in this Colt's young career.
That's the field for this upcoming Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes. When we return, stakes racing Oaklawn Park. For the Arkansas breds, Arkansas Breeders' Champion Stakes, KJ's Nobility seeking a 3rd straight victory for the Burrell brothers, Calvin and Cecil.
Run Happy is simply super. He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu.
No medication, no problem. Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Whether you have Derby dreams or midsummer Derby dreams, this is Tom Durkin to tell you a registered New York bred can take you there. That New York bred Exact and the Whitney by multimillionaires Diversify and Mind Your Biscuits shows the kind of quality that allowed New York breds to earn more than $93 million on the world stage last year. On-track successes have spurred New York bred sales result. At the March OBS sale, Chestertown sold for $2 million. And this New York bred 2018 yearling brought $1 million at Saratoga. So get with the program at nybreds.com.
DeMarshall offers breeders a rare opportunity. Out of a full sister to champions yesterday and Quarter Moon, his picture-perfect pedigree includes 8 Grade 1 winners under the first 3 dams. A winner in his 2-year-old debut at Aqueduct, he was named a TDN Rising Star. He captured a decisive victory at Keeneland and won the Grade 3 Pennine Ridge Stakes at Belmont. The only son of top sire Dubois standing in Kentucky. DeMarshall new for 2020 at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Any traffic off the top? Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Stakes Racing, Oaklawn Park, Arkansas Breeders' Champion Stakes. And, yeah, there's the heavy favorite in KJ's Nobility, Gary, trained by Cecil Burrell, ridden by three-time Kentucky Derby winning jockey Calvin Burrell.
Yeah, and these guys, they are inseparable. Calvin at the barn every morning early with his brother, Cecil, and the relationship reminds me a lot of relationship between my brother and two jockeys, but know the same game just as deep and a lot of respect for each other.
Calvin Burrell, who was actually at his brother Cecil's barn the morning after he won his first Kentucky Derby in 2007. The morning after he won the Derby, like, take a day off.
Saddling up horses.
Mm-hmm. So now they're teaming up with KJ's Nobility. You're looking at number 11, Man in the Can, with Joel Rosario in the saddle, and a major contender here with a tough outside post here, Gary.
Yeah, he's got a tough outside post, but I think Joel can do about whatever he wants to do with him because he's coming off those sprint races. And he showed the ability to rate and come from off the pace. He ran a fast time for the 3/4 of a mile. Looks like he'll be able to handle the distance stretch out. So, at 5-1, I think it's good value.
Yeah, coming back on short rest. Let's go back to that Rainbow Miss here 2 weeks ago. This is some kind of effort, Gary, from a 3-year-old in just his 3rd lifetime start.
Yeah, and I love the way he finished up here. Kind of relentless. Looks like he's going to enjoy having more ground put in front of him.
Again, have to wonder about that short rest, though, running that hard, coming back in a couple of weeks. As for Man in the Can and his jockey, in Joel Rosario, back aboard today, riding in 5 of 6 stakes races this weekend. Man in the Can here, Comical in the Gardenia, She Dares the Devil in the Fantasy, and tomorrow, Rosario will ride Contender Combatant in the Oaklawn Handicap, and the morning line favorite in the 2nd division of the Arkansas Derby, Nadal. Andy Serling, your thoughts on this Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes with approximately a minute to go?
Well, I don't need to be a chalk-eating weasel, but KJ's Nobility is the horse to beat. I think it's fairly obvious looking at the PPs. May just be faster, and while he's stretching out, he has been effective going long in the past, and he just seems a very logical horse. To me, the advantage is to play exactas and try to beat the 11 Man in the Can. Short rest, as you said, bad numbers stretching, going up on a route for the first time, especially off a win where he's 0 for 12 for Ron McQuett. So I'm going to go in a different direction. I like Bandit Point. Now, I don't have a lot of confidence. You seem to like the rider more than I do, but she got kind of a tepid ride last time against a much better field and arguably ran as well as anybody but the winner, who's a contender in a tough race tomorrow, a tougher race than this one. So I thought Bandit Point, the 9, was the interesting horse. I went for mostly a 3-9 exacta, a little backup win bet. But the 1, Promising Shoes, and the 10, Glacken's Ghost, will be in my play somewhere as well. But I can't beat KJ's Nobility, at least strongly, a little 9.
While you're looking at Bandit Point, who Andy said could have an outside look, yeah, KJ's Nobility very, very strong here at 4-5 here. Maggie, final thoughts before they circle about a little bit longer and load into the gate for this Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes.
Well, not only is KJ's Nobility much the horse to beat, kind of a rooting interest with this horse too, owned by a young girl by the name of Carson McCord. She's only 20 years old. She saved up all her money during high school, claimed KJ's Nobility for $25,000, and so far at the meet, teaming up with her trainer Cecil Burrell, they've gone 6 for 10, earned over $200,000. With her claiming this one, but I'm a little bit interested in the 1 and 4 in here, Promising Shoes and Amazing Vision. Going back to when they first met, which was their last meeting together, which was 2 starts ago for Promising Shoes. I thought Promising Shoes had the lackluster trip, broke a bit slower, had to circle the entire field, whereas Amazing Vision got a great trip along the rail. And then last time, Promising Shoes kind of in against tougher, which did included Bandit Point in that race as well. But I think Promising Shoes deserves a little bit of a sniff here, but the question has to be proposed, did they kind of improve on wet tracks? Both, looking at their form historically, both of them have run faster races when there's been some moisture in the racetrack. They're going to have to do it on a fast track today, Lafitte.
And, yeah, maybe that's the reason, Maggie, Promising Shoes, despite the fact being ridden by leading rider Ricardo Santana, cold on the board at 12-1. But now you have a rooting interest. The story Maggie told about KJ's Nobility, her owner, 20-year-old Carson McCord, and now with KJ's Nobility here, a 3-5 favorite in the stakes race on a big day, the undercard of the Fantasy.
Yeah, I read an article on Carson in the Thoroughbred Daily News here about 10 days ago, and she's reinvested a lot of the earnings at KJ's Nobility on other racehorses. Got a full-on stable going now.
Very cool.
Wants to be a horse trainer.
Very, very cool. Good luck, Carson, with KJ's Nobility. The Burrell brothers, Calvin and Cecil, odds on KJ's Nobility in this Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes, live on the undercard of the Fantasy. Once again, here's Vic Stauffer.
They're at the post. They're off. Supercharger and Glacken's Ghost, Heritage Park, and Man in the Can. These four are quickest. Amazing Vision and Destiny Way are next. J.E.'s Hand Me Down and KJ's Nobility follow, then Bandit Point, followed by Prospector Fever, and the trailer is Promising Shoes. To the backstretch they run, and it's Supercharger in front of the 3-year-old Man in the Can, who comes to challenge. Supercharger 3/4 of a length. Man in the Can is second by 1.5 lengths to Glacken's Ghost in third. Heritage Park is fourth, and they're single file to the backstretch with Destiny Way fifth and about 5 from the front. Then comes Amazing Vision and J.E.'s Hand Me Down. They have 6 lengths to make up, and they are 4 in front of KJ's Nobility and Bandit Point. Prospector Fever is double digits behind, and he's 5 in front of Promising Shoes. Midway on the backstretch in the second, Arkansas Breeders' Championship and Supercharger trying to take them all the way. Supercharger leads Man in the Can, just 3/4 of a length now. Heritage Park ranges up outside of Glacken's Ghost. Then comes Destiny Way. Between horses, Amazing Vision and J.E.'s Hand Me Down. They've got 5 to make up. KJ's Nobility is still 7 behind. He stays at the rail for Burrell. Bandit Point alongside him. Prospector Fever and Promising Shoes top of the stretch. Supercharger and Man in the Can. Supercharger ahead in front. Man in the Can is second. Amazing Vision is third. Now KJ's Nobility is kicking into gear, and here comes KJ's Nobility in the center of the racetrack, and he's got a lot of momentum, and he just got together with Amazing Vision. Man in the Can. KJ's Nobility on the attack. Man in the Can, a neck in front. KJ's Nobility outside. Man in the Can gonna make him work. KJ's Nobility. Man in the Can. KJ's Nobility. Man in the Can. The 3-year-old wins the Arkansas Breeders' Championship. Man in the Can over KJ's Nobility and Prospector Fever.
So much for the short rest having an impact. Man in the Can digs deep, holds off the late charge of the favorite KJ's Nobility in this Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes.
Yeah, these Arkansas breds are tough. Him coming back in just a couple of weeks off of that huge run. It's only his 4th time being led over to the starting gate against the old vet. KJ's Nobility.
Who might have made contact with every horse in the race.
Yeah, he might have. He made. I know Calvin's got some white paint on his boot. The hole that he came through around about the 5/16 pole, just coming off the turn. Then he was able to get him to the outside, and couldn't run down Man in the Can and Joel Rosario.
What did you tell me when Calvin Burrell pulled the trigger there on KJ's Nobility?
I said, mind that bird move. He's going to have white paint on his left boot.
Coming off the far turn, Man in the Can puts away Supercharger, and look, this is why we always reference Joel Rosario, the strongest finisher in the game, able to implore Man in the Can to find more. A little bit of contact there. KJ's Nobility just couldn't get by Man in the Can, and just like that, we are told the inquiry sign is up 11-3-5-9, hoping for a head-on. By the way, a 50-1 shot completing the trifecta.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's. I think he made contact with the 4-horse Amazing Vision.
Yeah, it was.
That he made contact with. And when I initially watched it the first time, a couple of those replays, just on the pan shot, it's tough to tell without seeing the head-on, but it looked like Amazing Vision may have drifted out and started the incident. But we'll get more of that when we hear from the stewards or see what they're looking at.
That was quick. Was it decided that quick?
I think they looked and saw what I saw, that the 4 came out and started the contact.
Tom Amos has made that observation from time. This is going to be the shortest inquiry in the history of it. That was the shortest inquiry in the history of short inquiries. Man in the Can, 11-3-5-9 in this Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes. Exciting finish. And for Joel Rosario, date with Nadal tomorrow afternoon in the Arkansas Derby. Stablemate, how about Charlatan? How special of a colt are we dealing with? 2 sensational wins by a combined 15.5 lengths. Even money. Morning line favorite in tomorrow's first division of the Arkansas Derby.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
What I like best about Run Happy Desire, he showed so much brilliance to win the grade ones that he won, different racetracks, and he was competing against the best horses that made it look easy. When I first heard about the bonus, I thought it was good for everybody, buyer or seller, gets everybody on the same page, that there's a lot of enthusiasm with the horse already, and I think that just helps add to it. I think these Run Happies, the public already wants to like them. That's a great thing, and I think that's a little icing on the cake for the whole deal.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
America's Day at the Races brought to you in part by Run Happy. Proud boy. That's his home, famed #1 stall at Claiborne Farm, previously occupied by, I don't know, maybe you heard of him, Bold Ruler, Secretariat, legends of the game, like issuing a rookie San Francisco 49er quarterback Joe Montana and Steve Young's locker. Legends who have occupied that #1 stall. Run Happy, who was an absolute rock star in the racetrack, never lost a sprint race. Champion sprinter at the age of 3, Breeders' Cup Sprint winner. The accolades go on and on. Always race medication-free, now standing at Claiborne Farm. Looking forward to seeing his offspring on the racetrack before long. Run Happy. I don't know that these horses were that good that fast, but we saw an exciting horse race here, Gary, with Man in the Can and Joel Rosario able to turn back the favorite, trading paint in the stretch there with KJ's Nobility.
Yeah, and this colt, he can run. He's got a lot of desire, a lot of heart, and he goes 3 for 4 career, beating the old man and doing it the hard way.
Exciting finish. Exciting finish for Man in the Can, who has now won 3 of 4, and you have to, it's the first time, you know, against the older horses there, Gary, Man in the Can, and coming back on short rest, and that, when in deep stretch, I figured KJ's Nobility has him. Right about now, that short turnaround is going to catch up with Man in the Can. He found more.
Yeah, he's a dangerous weapon because he's got that mid-speed for sprinting, but it put him up right up close to the pace, and he was able to stretch out and do it in an impressive manner.
Did you have Prospector Fever to complete the trifecta at 50 to 1? Look at that. 11-3-5 in the Arkansas Breeders' Championship Stakes. Last time this week, conversation Thoroughbred Racing was, would the Arkansas Derby split? Would Charlatan have a chance to run? In the end, it did split, and Charlatan is now the headliner in the first of 2 America's Best America's Best Racing Race of the Week. Even money Charlatan drawn inside. 3-year-old running 1 mile and an eighth. The purse, $500,000. Shooter's Shoot is out. That is a big scratch because Charlatan now is expected to be in command throughout, Gary, just like he was in this race March 14th at Santa Anita.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous situation for the rest of the field when Shooter's Shoot came out. And I don't even think Shooter's Shoot had his kind of early speed, but the thing he's going to have to deal with tomorrow is the loading of 11 horses, or 9 other horses in the race. He's drawn that 1 hole. He's going to have to stand there and wait. Hopefully he gets away good, like he's left there good in all of his starts. And man, he's a handful in this final workout right here.
Charlatan.
Before jumping on the airplane.
Yeah, his Arkansas Derby preparation last week here, last Sunday. Charlatan, again, serious practice. The final major drill before the big event. 3/4 of a mile, Gary, in 1:12.2. What are you seeing?
I see a horse that probably could have worked a 9 and change he's pulling on that exercise rider right now, giving him everything he's got. You see him moving him out off of his workmate, trying to get him to relax a little bit, so there's more emphasis on the finish. And what I like about this colt is when he finally does turn him halfway loose, he wants more of it. Just letting him stretch his legs here right now. Want to lean in just ever so lightly, but pretty straight and true through the stretch.
But that wasn't the early reviews were he wouldn't be as effective running longer after that race around 2 turns and 1 mile. You just don't hear that critique anymore.
No.
It's just not a thing.
I said, yeah, right. This is like, I mean, he just keeps going. He just keeps finding. And you get that huge speed figures first out sprinting, then comes back and gets a bigger one when he's stretched out.
Yeah, Jonathan Kinchin brought this up a couple of weeks ago. Not a suggestion that Charlatan is better than some of the greats Baffert has trained, but it does lend perspective to how fast Charlatan has been running. Those are the Beyer speed figures. You've heard this before, speed figures like the quarterback ratings. Higher the number, faster the race. Charlatan's first 2 races faster than American Pharoah, Arrogate, and Justify in their first 2 races. Does that mean Charlatan's going to win a Triple Crown, the Breeders' Cup Classic, and be Horse of the Year? No. But just to lend perspective at how fast he has been early on.
The thing is Bob, with this massive weapon, and he drew the easier end of the, if there is an easy end, he drew the, on paper, the easier half of the split. So this shouldn't be a taxing race on him. No, Bob is focusing, he's great at focusing on the end of the year, the championships, the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Now that focus in the fall is going to turn to the Kentucky Derby with his 3-year-olds and how best to get them there. And just announced that for the Santa Anita Derby, they've got it scheduled for June 6th.
Would have been Belmont Stakes Day, now Santa Anita Derby, Santa Anita Oaks. It's great to see. It's very fluid with all of some of the racing coming back in the near future. Southern California, Santa Anita, and of course Churchill Downs. We'll have more on that a little bit later. Getting back to the speed figure thing here, Andy, speed figure is not the end-all, be-all, but it does lend some perspective to what Charlatan has done in his first couple of races.
Yeah, no, there are many facets to the game. I think at the end of the day, you have to be fast enough to win races. And Charlatan is a tremendous talent. I think distance is the only question with him. Is the 1 1/8 going to be a problem? As they go further, when we get towards Kentucky Derby, is 10 furlongs too far? He's a Speightstown. That might be a question, but he's so much the horse to beat. Listen, he's the kind of horse, as a racing fan, you're excited to see run, right? You don't have to always bet. I like to bet, but I'm just looking forward to seeing what Charlatan can do. The question is, I think exactas. And who are you going to put second? Is it Governor Morris, who might get second by default? Will Anodora bounce back from his poor performance down at the fairgrounds? And Basin on the outside. A lot of people like Basin because they thought he had trouble last time. And I think there's an argument, a fair argument, that he did have trouble in his last start. Because he was well, first of all, he was relatively close to a very fast pace that completely and totally fell apart in that Oaklawn stake. So you've got that situation, but as the third place finisher Tyshawn was moving around the turn, sort of clear to his outside, the 9 is Tyshawn, he gets stuck behind horses. So even though the rider's riding, it's kind of tentative, and he does a good job getting the inside, but he doesn't really get that momentum going in the same way. So the race develops a little bit in front of him to his detriment. The problem I have is, where's the acceleration now that he's clear, right? Now that he gets to clear horses, shouldn't he be running much, much faster and catching up? And I just feel like he was picking up pieces. And I wonder, I like Basin as a horse. He won our hopeful at Saratoga, and I think he's a horse. You know, it's an odd year, so we don't really know when these races are going to be run, but he would be like a Derby trial type horse in the Pat Day Derby trial in a mile, the Woody Stevens, and eventually the Alan Jerkins at Saratoga. I think Basin's going to be better going shorter, so I'd be inclined not to play him last time. I thought his trouble was overrated, but I understand the argument that he could be the second horse in here, but I'm just looking forward to seeing Charlatan rev it up, guys. His last race, my gosh, it just like he turned on the afterburners.
This is one of those moments, you're right, Andy, with Charlatan, when we're going to watch the Arkansas Derby. It's still a Kentucky Derby prep race and the points and everything, but one of those moments when Charlatan loads into the gate, you're talking about the most hyped thoroughbred in North America right now, and what he does tomorrow afternoon in the Arkansas Derby.
And I think, Andy, what he said is trying to play exactas or pick a horse that's going to be second. Anu Dioro from Northern California for Blaine Wright. Blinker's coming off of him. He ran a disappointing race in the Arkansas, Louisiana Derby.
In the Risen Star.
Risen Star, yes. In the Risen Star. Disappointing. Maybe he bounces back and runs a huge race tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll all be chasing Charlatan seemingly. Maggie, your thoughts on Charlatan as an individual, a prospect moving forward after those 2 easy daylight victories?
Well, it looks as though he's going to have another easy one tomorrow as well, Lafitte. And as you guys kind of mentioned, watching this horse work, he just seems to be able to go fast and go fast for a long period of time. Yes, there's a pedigree question. Is he going to be effective going 9 furlongs? But watching his races, watching him prepare, it seems as though he should be A-okay. And Bob saying that, you know, he kind of reminds him of a mini Justify, a little bit smaller, but just a powerhouse through and through. Now, as Gary was mentioning, a No Dwar is a horse that, while his trainer Blaine Wright really couldn't come up with any excuses coming out of that Risen Star, he was a horse that was coming in off of layoff, and judging by what I see from him, he looks like a bigger, heavier horse. And sometimes those types, when they go from 2 to 3, they take a little bit of racing to get back in the groove of things. Furthermore, first race under lights as we check out his Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He does have a little bit of hang in him. That's why I think they put the blinkers on in his last start in the Risen Star. But they come off. Now he's reunited with his regular rider, Juan Hernandez, as well. And 2, Blaine thought that as though the ship in on Wednesday before the Saturday in the Risen Star may have affected him negatively. So they've shipped him in this past Sunday. So he's gotten a little bit more time to acclimate to the Oaklawn Park surroundings. So I'm hoping this horse can bounce back. Not that he's going to bounce back and beat Charlatan, but as far as exactas are concerned.
Yeah, it's one element, Maggie, that nobody is discussing in this Arkansas Derby, the first division, the fact that the 2-year-old champ is running Storm the Court, the runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Anador, it's just, for whatever reason, anything associated with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I understand that it hasn't proven to be a very productive race, but still, like Storm the Court, he is the reigning 2-year-old champion, and Anador did run second in that race. He was the favorite in that Risen Star Stakes.
My opinion on him is the same as what Maggie just said about Anu Dioro. I think that he's running into shape. His trainer, Pete Urton, is a very patient type trainer. He had a plan coming in. There was no reason for him to rush towards the originally scheduled Kentucky Derby. This was supposed to be the week. He was going to give him a couple of races. And they weren't bad races. They were better than looked on paper. Watching them, I could make excuses. I think you're going to see a fitter horse, and I think he's going to run well tomorrow.
Charlatan, even money morning line favorite in tomorrow's first division of the Arkansas Derby. Meantime, getting closer to the next stakes race on the fantasy undercard. These are 3-year-old fillies running a mile and a 16th. First running of the Gardenia. Feels like the fantasy's little sister in here with Gingham. 8-5 at 8-5 for trainer Bob Baffert, the favorite here. Gingham, the filly who had the pleasure of chasing Venetian Harbor in the Las Virgenes. Gingham, how will she respond? We'll find out in the first running of the Gardenia, post time in about 15 minutes.
Nobody wants to fall into a safety net, but when adversity or hardship presents itself, it beats the alternative. Since 1943, the Jockey Club Safety Net Foundation has been serving those individuals and families in need across every facet of the thoroughbred industry. Help us continue to be the safety net and catch those most in need. Visit tjcfoundation.org to learn more.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery won impressively in his 2-year-old debut at Santa Anita. From there, he captured the Grade 3 Bob Hope Stakes and completed his juvenile campaign with a dominant performance in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Futurity. At 3, the top-rated son of Candy Ride sizzled in the San Felipe. Now, his much-anticipated first crop are bringing top dollar in the sales ring. Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Since 1913, the Petaluma Creamery has believed that the best dairy products come from happy cows. It's why owner Larry Peter insists that every cow we milk is born and raised naturally to produce the finest non-GMO organic cheese and butter, like our delicious Spring Hill cheese, produced and shipped from here in California to anywhere you are. Visit springhillcheese.com and use promo code 10OFF to get $10 off your first order and enter to win free cheese for a year. Petaluma Creamery, the best dairy comes from the happiest cows.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. Over 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Maybe you're just joining us. Maybe you want to play the last few races. You're going to need those past performances. We have you covered. Get free information on all of today's races on our show with free Equibase past performances on Naira Bets. Visit nairabets.com/Fox Sports to download your free PPs on all the races on today's show and every show this weekend. Starting with this one, for example, the Gardenia. 3-year-old fillies, mile and a 16th. Same scenario as the Fantasy. You'll see in about 40 or so minutes. The purse here, $80,000 first running of the Gardenia, and Gingham the favorite at 8-5 here, Gary.
Yeah, and she deserves to be the favorite off of her last race, I guess. If Venetian Harbor beats her 9 1/4 lengths. That's how good Venetian Harbor is supposed to be. But interesting that she ran her first 5 races with blinkers. They took them off. That made her a winner in her next start. Left those blinkers off for 2 races. Blinkers going back on today. She was left with a lot to do in the Las Virgins this last time out, so hopefully those blinkers will put her a little closer to the pace.
Said no Venetian Harbor to deal with Gingham. You're looking at number 10, Antoinette. She is a contender at 2-1, strong second choice, trained by an absolute legend is Antoinette here. For trainer Bill Mott, but Antoinette, here she is on the track. This was in the Fairgrounds Oaks. And Antoinette, in this particular race, she lost some momentum at the top of the stretch for a few strides. Watch this, with absolutely nowhere to operate.
She was bottled up for a long time. From the middle of the backstretch, she was in this position wanting to run. And when she finally did get some daylight, which wasn't until late, she didn't really respond. She kind of hung a little bit. So my thinking is today, with this outside draw, Johnny Velasquez aboard her today, that you're going to see her get into a rhythm and not be held back. Just let her go out and do her thing. But she ran much better than what this racing form says. Watching the race, it was a heck of an effort.
Absolutely. With Antoinette, as you mentioned, trained by a legend, trainer Bill Mott, closing in on a milestone achieved by only 6 other trainers in history. 5,000 career wins. Currently 12 wins away, Gary. This is one of the most celebrated milestones for a trainer in this sport.
He's one of the most celebrated trainers in the sport, period. Classy guy, old school, sticks to his guns, gets a plan, keeps his plan. Great to ride for. One of the neatest guys I had there. I didn't ride a lot for him, but when I did, I appreciated it.
Bill Mott making 11 wins away from 5,000. A lot of that early success right here at Oaklawn Park for Mott.
Yeah, goes back here a lot of years.
And training here, the Godolphin filly and Antoinette. Can she propel Bill Mott closer to 5,000 career wins? We will find out in about 8 minutes, but the money continues to pour in on Bob Baffert's train Gingham. With Martin Garcia aboard the Charlatan team, you'll have a chance to see him in the post-parade momentarily. Gingham 8-5. Venetian Harbor, who clobbered her in her last start, will be the 2-1. She is the 2-1 morning line favorite in the Fantasy. Really interested to see where the early money goes in that Fantasy. British Idiom, second choice, 5-2. Venetian Harbor, 2-1. Post parade here for the Gardenia. There's Peace in My Heart and Joe Talamo.
Yeah, and this filly, she's got some tactical speed. She's got a favorable inside post position to save ground.
Gingham the favorite.
Gingham the favorite. Martin Garcia, The board for the old boss, Bob Baffert. Blinkers back on her today.
Turnstone, long shot, stakes debut.
Yeah, she's a big price in here. Big step up in class for this Arkansas-bred daughter of Double Irish.
Number 5, Daphne Moon, tenacious winner in her 3-year-old debut.
Yeah, she was a tenacious winner in there, but this is a big step up in class for her.
Number 6, Quick Decision, is a scratch. That changes things. She was quick. There's Strong Flag, a contender with Ricardo Santana.
I like this filly in here. She's a filly with good style. She's taken a step up in class after a second-place finish last time out.
Comical, Saratoga Schuylerville.
Yeah, huge race in the Schuylerville. Problem is she hasn't ever returned to that form. She finished second last time out, beat 3/4 of a length.
Antoinette, Hall of Fame connection. She's on her toes. John Velasquez, Bill Mott.
Yeah, she is on her toes, and look for her to come out running today. Probably going to be a little more aggressive with her early on.
His Glory, trained by our friend and colleague Tom Amos.
Speed to the outside of Antoinette with His Glory. She was in front last time out in the Rachel Alexander. Faded 6, beaten 8 3/4 lengths. Good luck, Tom.
And on the outside, Shanghai Keeley, the Island Fashion winner in New Mexico.
Yeah, this is a step up for her and her trainer Molly Pearson, looking for the first win at the meet.
That is the field for this first running of the Gardenia. The 3-year-old fillies running a mile and a 16th. The purse, $80,000. Gingham, number 3, the favorite, 3-1 on the morning line in a race that looked wide open on paper. The complexion changes with the absence of Quick Decision, number 6, who is out. Gingham, 8-5 here in the wagering for this Gardenia Stakes. Number 3, Gingham. You'll see her with Martin Garcia and win, lose, or draw again. She has to be thrilled not to have to deal with Venetian Harbor again this afternoon. Yeah, let's go back to that race. This was on the 12th, the 8th of February. Grade 2 Las Virgenes, Santa Anita. Gingham made a big run at Venetian Harbor for a few strides. It looked like we had a horse race on our hands, Gary.
Yeah, and the thing was that Venetian Harbor opened up this huge lead down the backside, and the field was really strung out. And Drayden Van Dyke was aboard Gingham that day, and he was sitting very patient on her. She made this huge run around the turn and got to within a couple of lengths, about a length and a half of our winner, Venetian Harbor. And then she just sprinted away and left this filly kind of flat-footed. And Drayden wasn't overly aggressive with her. She could have been a little closer, but was it going to be 6 lengths or 9 1/4? She had some more fuel left in the tank, put it that way.
You mentioned Drayden Van Dyke. You saw the graphic. Martin Garcia riding for the first time. Why not? Look at what Baffert Garcia had done together. 5 for 5. Perfect thus far. We'll see if they can make it 6 for 6 with Gingham at 9-5 here. Andy, your thoughts on this Gardenia Stakes with about 5 minutes to go?
I think it's a very, very tough race, and I'm not. Gingham could certainly win, and Antoinette could certainly win this race. I don't think either one are that compelling at particularly short prices, and I'm having a tough enough time handicapping it, so I want to get a little bit of a price. I thought Comical was a bit interesting in here. I know she set a slow pace when she was effective against Bast and the Chandelier, but she still ran well enough at a mile and a 16th, and I thought her last race a lot better than it looks. You know, that was a pretty quick pace, and the other horses engaged in the pace finished well back, and the winner's a promising Brad Cox horse, like so many in his barn, that got the right trip and got it done. And I thought Comical will benefit from getting Joel Rosario back aboard, and I thought she had a chance at a price. It's not a huge opinion, but I thought in a race that's wide open, she was a player. Daphne Moon's a player. I'm surprised that Daphne Moon is as high to 5-1. I don't know why she's necessarily worse, if not better, than both Gingham and Antoinette. She showed promise with a nice win earlier in her career. She didn't have a good trip in the Frisette. Now, granted, she never got in the running with Demoiselle, but she ran so badly that something must have gone wrong, and she comes back and ran a very nice race prepping for this spot for Jeremiah Englehart, who tried to wake me up actually this morning. He doesn't know I don't get up before 11, so his call went unanswered. But I just thought she was kind of interesting in here at a price, so I was going to use the 5 and 8 as my horses, and I'm playing some doubles going forward because much as I respect Venetian Harbor, I do like Harvey's Little Goyle, so I'll use the 5 and 8 in doubles with Harvey's Little Goyle.
Right before I go to bed at like midnight, 1 a.m., Gary, I'm calling Andy Serling. Just for the hell of it.
And I'll hit him 10 minutes after you do.
Jeremiah Englehart, he screened the call this morning, did Andy Serling. So, yeah, there you have it for the Gardenia Stakes. Here we check in with Maggie Wolfendale. Your thoughts for this Gardenia with Gingham at 2-1 here, about 3 minutes out.
I astonished Andy doesn't get up before 11 a.m. He should try living in this household, as I will be going to bed right after we get off air, basically, tonight, and getting up around 6 a.m. Anyway, I agree, though. Daphne Moon is a horse that I've liked from the get-go. I was impressed with her as a 2-year-old up at Saratoga. I had high hopes for her, as well as Jeremiah did, too. I remember interviewing him several times prior to the effort in the Frisette, and he was very high on her. She was working great, and as Andy said, she just didn't have a great trip that day, and then there's been layoff bound, and now she comes back. She ran great in her last race. It wasn't the most ideal trip. She kind of made the early move against a second place finisher, and she's one that I've always felt as though the longer she gets to run, the better. So I think that Daphne Moon is definitely a contender here, and the fact that her connections keep putting her in spots that might be reaching a little bit just speaks to their confidence in this filly. I love the way she's warmed up too on track. Walter De La Cruz has taken her away from the pony, and she's had a nice warm-up by herself, moving very fluidly out on the Oaklawn Park surface. Now, Antoinette is the other horse in here. As you guys mentioned, she looked pretty fired up on track. Well, that's how she always is. Glad to see that she is that way. That last race down at the fairgrounds was impressive. I think she is a horse for Bill Mott that, another one that I've always liked, has shown a great deal of versatility, and I thought it was an excellent effort considering the layoff with her as well. We'll see if she can bounce back and run well here, second off the bench as well.
Antoinette, Maggie, and the late money pouring in here. She's actually favored now, Gary, over Gingham, 2-1. Co-favorites, but Antoinette, the actual choice.
Yeah, not really surprised from that. Well, I shouldn't say that. I am surprised with the record that Bob has had at this meet, the number of starters, his wins. Martine Garcia, I figured she would be over bet, to be honest with you.
Early on, she was. Yeah, they're 5 for 5 together. Garcia and Baffert at the meet.
I'm not surprised. I think Antoinette's going to run huge today.
Antoinette had 9-5, number 10 for Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott. Victory here, and he would be 10 short of becoming the 7th trainer ever to register 5,000 career victories. Bob Baffert with Gingham. It is post time for the first ever running of the Gardenia Stakes. Vic Stauffer standing by.
They're at the post. They're off. Comical and Antoinette break well. Piece of My Heart and Gingham are close up. Turnstone is asked for speed. Strong Flag quicker than her. His Glory going to be 4 wide at the clubhouse turn. His Glory ranges up very wide. Shanghai Keeley is next, and the early trailer is Daphne Moon. Piece of My Heart, and now a 2 wide. His Glory to come and challenge. Piece of My Heart a neck in front. His Glory is second by 1.5 lengths to Comical and Antoinette, together 3rd and 4th. Gingham is 5th in the green and about 4 from the front. Shanghai Keeley outside of her, Turnstone inside. Strong Flag has 6 lengths to make up, and she's 2 in front of Daphne Moon as they run up the backstretch in the first Gardenia. Piece of My Heart, now with a nice smooth stride, has raced away again to lead by 1.5 lengths from His Glory in second. No excuses for John Velasquez and Antoinette in perfect striking position. Comical stays at the rail. Gingham is still 5th with 4 to make up. Shanghai Keeley just outside of her. Daphne Moon is moving from the back of the pack, and here comes Daphne Moon. She just passed 3 or 4 to get up into 5th in the black. Then Strong Flag. Turnstone is the trailer. Piece of My Heart is the leader. Piece of My Heart, a length in front of Antoinette. A 4 wide Daphne Moon continues to rally. Gingham tries to go with her. 4 of them going to line up at the top of the stretch. Piece of My Heart still a length in front. Antoinette is second. Daphne Moon and Gingham 3rd and 4th. Then comes Comical at the rail. Piece of My Heart is trying to turn them all the way, and she is running a very big race. Piece of My Heart now 3 in front. Comical has moved into second. Antoinette and Daphne Moon, but it is Piece of My Heart and Comical 1-2. Piece of My Heart wins the Gardenia. Piece of My Heart won 1 3/4 lengths. Comical second. Antoinette third. Daphne Moon finished 4th.
She is figuring things out. Piece of My Heart, back-to-back wins, and 3 of her last 4. And Joe Talamo inches 1 race closer, 1 win closer, leading jockey Ricardo Santana.
What a meet he's had, especially in the stake races. I believe, we got to check, but I believe he's the leading stakes rider at the meet. It seems like one after the other. Great meet, great ride, thrashing that speed out beautifully. Unbelievable job by Piece of My Heart.
5 wins shy. It's a long shot, but still shouting distance for Joe Talamo. Piece of My Heart there for trainer Mac Robertson. And Piece of My there. And Andy thought Comical might run well. And she put forth a big performance, couldn't repel the charge of Piece of My Heart. Disappointing efforts from Antoinette, though, and Guillermo, the favorites.
Antoinette had no excuse at all. She was taking a big hold of Johnny Velasquez going into the first turn. He was in kind of a tough spot in between horses. He had the wrangler back. I mean, he took a strong hold to get her back. And she was kind of aggressive through the backside. Very similar to her last race. Being aggressive early and then flattening out through the stretch, but no excuse from her. Comical ran a big race.
Big race from Comical, who still hasn't won since the opening day. Schuylerville in that downpour, but that's 2 straight really good efforts from Comical. Piece of My Heart drifting a little bit there, but again, for a filly, it took her several starts to break her maiden. Once she developed that knockout punch, once she figured out how to win, that's all she's done since 3 of her last 4. And now a stakes winner taking down the first running of the Gardenia.
Yeah, she showed a couple different styles of running. Today's the first time that she's been on the lead and been able to sustain that lead. Last time that she won, it was 2 other than conditions allowance race. Steps up into the stakes company today, but she came from off of the pace last time. New style today, versatility.
2, 8, 10, 5. Piece of My Heart in the Gardenia Stakes, race number 8 at Oaklawn Park in this Gardenia for 3-year-old fillies, and then a look ahead to the fantasy. But for Joe Talamo, having a huge first meet at Oaklawn Park, the Cajun-born rider spent several years in Southern California, shifted his tack to Oaklawn Park, and here he is right in the thick of things for a riding title. Joe Talamo strikes with Piece of My Heart in the Gardenia.
Go from Railbird to Winner's Circle. With My Racehorse, you have access to top horses and trainers, backside tours, exclusive ownership experiences, and fast payouts to your online account. With shares starting as little as $100, the Winner's Circle is waiting for you. Go to myracehorse.com or download the My Racehorse app today to join the thousands who have already started their journey as a racehorse owner.
In these uncertain times, my old Kentucky home means actually staying at home. These gates will open again. And when they do, let's be ready to show up and prove to the world what horse racing means to Kentucky. See you at the races.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com.
Sign up for a $20 free play with promo code FREE20. Details at NairaBets.com/free20.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on FS2, as always brought to you in part by Run Happy, the 2015 Breeders' Cup Champion Sprinter, 3-year-old sprint champ, always race medication-free, now standing at Claiborne Farm. Results just arrived following that effort from Piece of My Heart in the Gardenia Stakes, taking down the winner's share of the $80,000 purse, 8-1 at post time. It's been that kind of afternoon. We've seen several mid-range prices, some long shots. Piece of My Heart returning $19.20 for your would-be $2 investment. Another good effort from Comical, and Antoinette having to settle for third. But there is the winning jockey in Joe Talamo. It was in the early 2000s, and the Hall of Fame trainer, the late great Bobby Frankel, had noticed this apprentice in Louisiana. He said he had the best hands he had seen since Pat Day. If you're new to the sport, you don't know who Pat Day is. Trust me, that is a huge, huge compliment. He was talking about Joe Talamo. Now, here's Talamo in his first season riding at Oaklawn Park in that heated race for a jockey title, currently tied for second. Joe Talamo first season at Oaklawn Park with his family, and he winded up marrying the girl he took to prom.
Joe Talamo and Elizabeth Ellis were just teenagers when they met shortly after he started riding in Southern California. Elizabeth grew up around horse racing. Her father, Ron Ellis, is a trainer.
I mean, my one rule growing up was you're not allowed to date a jockey. And I had no interest in dating a jockey, so it was fine with me.
I mean, she was so pretty, I didn't really care. So, so I would always see her after I would win a race.
And jockey Joe Talamo.
So that was cool.
I mean, he also said I wasn't allowed to date you.
Yeah, that didn't.
For a while. But he was very persistent, and my dad said, if he still wants to go out with you during Del Mar, which was like a couple months later, then you can go on a date with him. And I said, perfect.
Persistence. Persistence, baby. The year before, I couldn't go to her junior prom because we raced Friday night racing, but her senior prom, she said she'd really like to go and it'd be important. So I told my agent, and we were doing really, really good at the time. Man, look, I gotta go to this senior prom. It's on a Friday night. You do it, but just go tell the trainers that you're gonna ride for. I mean, they were all, you know, really, really live horses. So I went kind of hat in hand. Thought it was the funniest thing. They said, oh, of course, have a good time. I think I ended up riding more for them because they thought it was a kick that I took off from racing and did that. Close your eyes and show me what's inside your soul. And it was fun. We had a good time. I did have to wake up at 4:15 the next morning and go to work for Mike Mitchell at Hollywood.
For 3 years, Elizabeth and Joe would balance a long-distance relationship focusing on their own careers before deciding being apart was too much. They married in 2015. Today, Joe's riding full-time at Oaklawn, and they're experiencing life as a family in Hot Springs, Arkansas, with their 2 boys, Vincent and Dominic.
He's such a great dad, you know, like a big kid himself, so he's always playing with them and very hands-on.
Yeah, we're kind of growing up at the same time, it seems.
Come on, fish.
Just one time.
I know, just one time.
They love doing races. You would think it would wear them out, but they got that Energizer bunny in them. They keep on going. Oh, I can't wait to go to work in the morning, man. That's easy, going to work at 5:30 and working 6, 7 horses compared to watching these two. Look at them.
Beautiful family. Elizabeth could probably answer this question better, Gary. I'll ask you, though. Is he ever, like, in a bad mood?
Never. I swear I've never seen him in a bad mood. We've been having these online poker tournaments on Sunday nights for the past several weeks. Elizabeth, Joe, a handful, and the mother-in-law, Amy, and a bunch of us. And he's the life of that. Just through the telephone, through texting. We have these group texts going on. He's a prankster, he's a joker, but no, I've never seen him in a bad mood.
He was supposed to ride I Want Revenge in the 2009-2010 Kentucky Derby, something like that. I Want Revenge, who would have been a favorite. Defected from the race, maybe the morning before, maybe a couple of days before, whatever it was. A young rider losing the opportunity to ride a favorite in the Kentucky Derby and could not have handled it with more class. If he was really irritated or angry, or like he hit it very, very well.
And he was a heavy favorite. And, you know, that him being scratched could have changed his destiny as a jockey, because he very well could be saying that he was a Kentucky Derby winner right now. After I Want Revenge, had he run, he was that good, the horse was. And scratched, and Joe was like, well.
Just handled it all in stride.
Maybe there will be another one, boss.
And maybe there will be. Talamo, for now, tied for second in the standings, and the leading jockey as far as stakes wins at Oaklawn Park is at 9th overall. Of course, typically the first Friday in May it is the Kentucky Oaks, and if there's a bright side for trainer Tom Amoss, he is still the defending Kentucky Oaks winning trainer without a Kentucky Oaks being run this afternoon. This was Serengeti Empress in the Azeri, though, and Joe Talamo. What a show they put on today on that afternoon, and what a team this has been, Tom Amoss and Joe Talamo this season.
Yeah, it really has, and this race right here, the Azeri, what a performance she put on. We saw her at her best, saw Talamo at his best, saw Tom Amos's training at its best.
Joe Talamo, and this is the updated jockey standings. Ricardo Santana with a 5-win lead. Looks like he has that 7th Oaklawn riding title well within sights with 1 day left.
And it looked like Joe was going to win a couple of races earlier on today.
Two tough seconds earlier.
Two tough seconds, and one of them was won by Ricardo Santana, which was sort of a 2-race swing for him. Had he beat Santana, then instead of Santana winning, it would have been a 2-race swing.
Santana had that suspension. He appealed it. We didn't think he was going to have a chance to ride the last couple of weeks at Oaklawn Park. He appealed it. He got the stay, and here he is about to take down a 7th riding title at Oaklawn Park.
Yeah, what an accomplishment that would be. I'll tell you what, these guys, when they're in these battles for leading rider, they drive each other, they press each other, and every race is important. Every race counts. And leading into this, 1 day being away from closing day, it's going to be exciting.
Exciting is what we're going to see next in the fantasy, a Grade 3 event featuring Grade 1 talent. And in the early wagering, it is all Venetian Harbor. Wow, 4-5 odds-on favorite is Venetian Harbor. That is next. 3-year-old fillies taking center stage in the fantasy. Live look there into the paddock. Venetian Harbor in there somewhere. 4-5 early on. British Idiom 5-1. The fantasy coming up in 17 minutes.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Since 1913, the Petaluma Creamery has believed that the best dairy products come from happy cows. It's why owner Larry Peter insists that every cow we milk is born and raised naturally to produce the finest non-GMO organic cheese and butter, like our delicious Spring Hill cheese, produced and shipped from here in California to anywhere you are. Visit springhillcheese.com and use promo code 10OFF to get $10 off your first order and enter to win free cheese for a year. Petaluma Creamery, the best dairy comes from the happiest cows.
Eclipse champion Blame. Ranked among the top stallions of his crop, Blame has sired over 50 stakes horses. His recent top performers include Kentucky Derby hopefuls Shotsky, winner of the Grade 2 Remsen Stakes, and rising star Nadal, a $700,000 juvenile purchase and winner of the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes. Plus recent Grade 1 performers Mississippi, Alandra, and Natalma Stakes winner Abscond. Outstanding value, outstanding results. Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America's Best Racing is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
In horse racing, this is what the first Friday in May is supposed to look like. Over 100,000 people at Churchill Downs celebrating North America's premier event for 3-year-old fillies, the Kentucky Oaks. And this is what Churchill Downs looks like today. All is quiet. The Oaks and Kentucky Derby postponed until September. But what about the horses? The fillies supposed to run in the Oaks. Many are about to. Here at Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas, where a full field has gathered for Oaklawn's 3-year-old filly marquee race, included the reigning 2-year-old filly champ.
As they come to the wire, Donovan Oche battles on, but British Idiom won it.
Ridden by Javier Castellano after testing positive for COVID-19 weeks ago, the Hall of Famer is back. And the phenom from California. Could this be the best 3-year-old filly in North America?
As Venetian Harbor completely dominates, geared down, wins by 9 emphatic lengths.
The fantasy is next. Welcome back to America's Day at the Races in Oaklawn Park. Maggie Wolfendale, Andy Serling, Hall of Famer Gary Stevens, I'm Lafitte Pinkai, and there are the updated odds for the fantasy. The headliners: Venetian Harbor 2-1 on the morning line, 4-5 with 14 minutes to post. British Idiom second choice at 9-2. And while post time for the Kentucky Oaks would have been about 15-20 minutes away from now, sorry about that, rescheduled for the first Friday in September, this is still a Kentucky Oaks prep. 100 points to the winner. And let's take a look at what that updated Kentucky Oaks leaderboard looks like heading into this fantasy. A Swiss skydiver you'll see is on top with 110 points following her win in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. 7 of the top 21 point earners are running in today's fantasy. So, yeah, this is the fantasy at Oakland, but featuring many of the fillies that would have been running in the Kentucky Oaks regardless. Venetian Harbor, 4-5. As for British Idiom, number 10, she's in the paddock, the 2-year-old filly champ. Live look in the paddock at British Idiom. We had Brad Cox on earlier. Didn't sound that concerned about that first loss in the Rachel Alexandra, the second place finish to the highly regarded Finite, and expecting vast improvement. There is British Idiom, though. The handicappers feel otherwise at this stage, Gary, 9-2.
Yeah, they do. But I don't blame Brad for being confident coming into this race and not worrying about that first defeat after her championship year. Just for the fact, Brad, I know him well. I wrote a lot of winners for him, and he was preparing her. He is preparing her for the Kentucky Oaks, which is now moved to September. But at the time that she ran, that was still first Saturday in May. He didn't crank her up. She wasn't cranked up. The deal was to have her peaking today. So we'll see.
And so let's take another look at that Rachel Alexandra. And for British Idiom, right from the start, Gary, you could tell it was going to take a big effort to overcome some of the trouble, as you mentioned earlier, almost clipping heels passing the stands here for the first time, British Idiom in the yellow colors.
Yeah, and pretty much running off with Javier. I know Javier didn't want to be that close up on heels because that'll get you in trouble. That'll make you hit the dirt. And got her to the outside. She's wide around the first turn and still under a lot of restraint. Saw her head throwing a little bit there, but he finally gets her wrangled back in, but she's using up a lot of energy right now, and that was some aggressiveness that she hadn't shown as a 2-year-old. Like I said earlier, I think that's a good thing. Maybe he can drop her head. He's going to have to be closer to Venetian Harbor than what anybody else has been able to get close to her early on in the race to have a chance of beating her.
And there you see her fighting there. I don't know that she lost that much in the race, shaking off some rust, the shaky start, the ground loss, and Finite is really good. Andy, I'm excited to see what British Idiom brings today, but again, very cold in the wagering early on.
Well, she's the third choice in doubles. I mean, Harvey's Little Goyle is the second choice in doubles, and I think she should be the second choice. I don't share your enthusiasm. You guys are nicer than I am. You're much more forgiving than I am. I thought that race was brutal by her, to be honest. I know she had a little trouble at the start, but she was life and death to get even up for second, and I'm not sure how strong that race was. The truth is, her Alcibiades was a very good effort. Her Breeders' Cup win, she had all the best of it at a very rapid pace relative to the final time and was hard-pressed to win what wasn't really one of the stronger runnings. And I just think we're seeing better 3-year-old fillies this year that didn't necessarily run or show it as 2-year-olds last year. And I don't see where she's as good as Venetian Harbor. And I really think Harvey's Little Goyle is just a better horse. British Idiom is going to beat me today, and she's going to beat me until she shows that she's anywhere close to improving on her good form last year. I just don't see it.
British Idiom, yeah. So Andy, he's not as big of a fan with British Idiom, and on paper, maybe not. Doesn't run a real fast race, but it's just hard to knock a filly this highly decorated, a Breeders' Cup Juvenile filly winner and a champion. Again, the last year's 2-year-old filly champion.
Yeah, for the trainer that is training her. And look, I'm not being nice. I'm not doing anything else. My job is to be an analyst. And what I analyzed is I didn't think her first race. I thought that she was hindered quite a bit at the start. I'm not saying that because of traffic, but the restraint that Javier was having to put under her when he had the arm muscle, it was almost like Antoinette, the previous race that we just watched when Johnny V had to anchor her back. They don't like that, and you're taking energy away when possibly you should be letting them run. Now, whether she can't beat Venetian Harbor unless she steps it up big time today. Just saying that she's a champion filly. And if she steps up enough today, she'll finish second in here.
Riders up for this fantasy for these 3-year-old fillies, mile and a 16th, and Venetian Harbor, who is even money at the top of the show. You compared her to the Philly, you won the first of your 3 Kentucky Derby wins with in winning colors, Gary.
Yeah, and we watched her in her last race, and she made a couple different moves in there. She made the move away from the starting gate that was lightning quick, sprinter-type speed, got to the backside, was able to just cruise at that high cruising speed, hit the tourney, let the other horses back into the race. I know our comrade JK, Jonathan Kitchen, he didn't like the ride. I personally loved the ride because when they closed the gap, he was playing cat and mouse with him. He put the pedal to the metal and was able to open up on the field and just jerk the heart out of him in a matter of 2 or 3 strides.
But Jonathan is a big fan of Venetian Harbor and expecting a big performance from the even money favorite. You saw the point standings, 7 of the 21 in terms of the leaders on the leaderboard in this fantasy. Many of them we'd be talking about the same matchup here if this was the Kentucky Oaks, the most prestigious race for 3-year-old fillies, traditionally run on the first Friday in May, now the first Friday in September. We'd be discussing many of the same 3-year-old fillies.
Yeah, but we probably wouldn't be discussing Venetian Harbor because she has 0 points right now. Is that correct, or did she get some in
the Las Virgenes? She was in the mix. She was in the mix,
mix,
and in most cases would have run in the Santa Anita Oaks as well.
Right.
It was postponed, as you mentioned earlier. Rescheduled now, Santa Anita Derby, Santa Anita Oaks on the 6th of June. Post-parade fantasy, there is Ice Princess, long shot, 45-1.
45-1. She's won 3 or 4 starts, and she finished 7th in the Grade 1 Frisette last year.
Venetian Harbor, how good is she?
She's very good, nice and calm and relaxed out there. She's had some great workouts leading up to this race, Lafitte.
Number 3, Swiss Skydiver, the Gulfstream Park Oaks Victress.
And she was the Oaks Victress easy. She won by 3.5 lengths. It was a Grade 2 race.
Lake Avenue, what tactics will be utilized today?
Well, here's what I think. She's going to be just off the pace. How far off the pace, I don't know, but she won't be that far away.
Number 5, Harvey's Little Goyle, impressive Busanda winner.
Huge Busanda winner. She's still going to have to step forward today. The second one of Billy Moxon here.
Number 6, Kansas Kiss, the New York Invader. We're going to skip the 6. We have the 6. There's Kansas Kiss.
They're getting us confused up there.
Oh, she's on it. Well, she's feeling it. She's not wanting to participate in this post-parade whatsoever. She does have Florent Giroux in the saddle there. She dares the devil, second of the 2 fillies trained by Brad Cox.
And she's 1 for 2 with second place finish at Oaklawn Park, 2 for 6 overall.
Brad Cox sounded confident about her, a ring leader here. Watch her early on. It's been kind of a mess the last couple of starts. She stumbled leaving the gate in her last start and then really bolted on the first turn 2 starts back. So something to keep your eye on. Lady Glamour, she would be an absolute shock.
I'd put on there no chance, but should never say that in horse racing.
No, at least 99-1. British Idiom, highly decorated Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly winner.
Trying to bounce back off of that first defeat of her career last time out in the Rachel Alexandra.
Hall of Famer Javier Castellano back in the saddle. Number 11, Fire Coral, a lot of upside here.
Tyler Bays for Steve Asmussen, coming off of a huge race last time out. It was an allowance race.
Too big a price, Fire Coral. A New York Groove, tough spot for a dirt debut.
Yeah, really tough spot for her. She's at 58-1 right now. Could show a bit of speed early on.
Lazy Daisy, last seen chasing British Idiom and Company in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Yeah, she was beaten 23 lengths that day. It was a big price, and she's a big price again today at 53-1.
And finally, Alta's Award, second of the 2 fillies trained by Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, she's in a tough spot here. She was second, Honeybee. She dares the devil, but this 14 post position. No thanks.
That is the field. 14 3-year-old fillies running a mile and a 16th. In this Grade 3 fantasy featuring Grade 1 type of talent. How good is Venetian Harbor? Currently even money after 2 blowout wins in California. The one to beat in the fantasy when we come back.
OBS Spring Sow graduates take top honors at the Eclipse Awards. Champion Male Sprinter and Horse of the Year finalist Matole. Champion 2-year-old male Storm the Court. And champion older female, Midnight Bisou. Find your next champion at OBS in 2020. New dates for the OBS Spring Sale of 2-year-olds, June 9th through 12th, with the under tax shows beginning May 31st. OBS, we measure success by performance.
Golden Sense was Intimicious' best son at the racetrack. I think Golden Sense has a real chance to produce a classic distance horse. They've got a ton of heart. They're very competitive. They've got athleticism. They've got speed. The Golden Sense just have that it factor. They look look like the good into mischiefs.
Everybody else chasing Mr. Money.
By my standards, has won the New Orleans Classic.
I think he's got a big future.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the sport, visit americasbestracing.net today. Exciting moment here. 3-year-old fillies on this Kentucky Oaks Day. Typically, the Oaks won't be run until early September. This a stepping stone en route to the Kentucky Oaks in this fantasy, and there is the current favorite, even money, Venetian Harbor. Maggie, what have you noticed from the time she left the paddock and now out on the track warming up for the fantasy?
I like everything I see, Lafitte. You know, she's got that good, controlled confidence you like to see. They've kept her with the pony, but she's just very well with bridle. I'm liking everything I'm seeing from this filly. And Richard Baltus, as you guys touched on earlier, he said that this is a horse who has the most natural ability of any horse that he's ever trained, and he's trained multiple Grade 1 winners. So Venetian Harbor, much the horse to beat, wasn't flattered necessarily by the race before in the Gardenia, where we saw Gingham, a well-beaten favorite for Bob Baffert, but she was well beaten by Venetian Harbor, so it was kind of apples to oranges as far as the races back. But is the pace. There's a lot of horses, a lot of fillies in here with a lot of early speed and ones who do their best running up on the front end. I mean, Andy talking about Lake Avenue, her best strategy is to go to the front. It didn't work out a 2-back in New York, and it certainly didn't work out rating her in her last race down at Gulfstream Park. So, and 2, you have Swiss Skydiver who wants to lead. A horse that I'm interested in, Lafitte, that you mentioned, Price. She's shown the ability to run in different ways, and 2, her last race, the 2nd through 4th finishers all came back to win and improve their buyer speed figures.
Strength of schedule in terms of competition for number 11, Fire Coral, but there is Venetian Harbor, Gary, tactic, strategy, the inside post, and while she's done her best work on the lead, you get the feeling maybe some of the jockeys get a little more aggressive with her and try to make her work a little bit harder early on here.
Well, if I'm Flavien Prat, I've got in the back of my mind, my question is going to be, what am I going to do with this 8-horse ringleader with Joe Talamo? She's 30-1. I give her no chance in the race, but she could get in the way. She could be the car sweeper that's out on the roadway when you come around the S-curve and you're driving a Porsche and you can't see this thing. You got to slam on the brakes. Where is she going to go? That would be my only concern if I'm Flavien Prat.
Andy Serling, final thoughts as they have reached the gate for the fantasy.
Well, I like Harvey's Little Goyle. I have no illusions. Venetian Harbor is very, very good. One of the questions is, and Maggie touched on it very much, Lake Avenue has a lot of speed, and Bill Mott has to realize that their strategy of rating her last time was a mistake. That's fine. You try something, it doesn't work. So they got to be aggressive with her. The other thing about being aggressive with her, it works in the favor of Mott's other horse, Harvey Little Goyle. So I think it works well for both of them. I expect Lake Avenue to be aggressive. I expect Venetian Harbor to be tough to beat, but Harvey's Little Goyle, she is a dramatically improving horse that has run very well in both of her dirt starts. No question, the competition gets significantly deeper here, but I think we're going to see a very big effort from the 5 Harvey's Little Goyle. I bet her, and I'm trying to beat the favorite with her.
That Busanda was terrific from Harvey's Lil Goyle. Venetian Harbor, she's been in the gate for a while, Gary. Standing there quietly. We'll see how it all unfolds, how aggressive Flavien Prat will be in the early stages. Venetian Harbor, British Idiom, the 2-year-old filly champion here, as they are in the gate for this Grade 3 fantasy. 100 points to the winner en route to the Kentucky Oaks the first Friday in September. It is post time. For the Fantasy, Venetian Harbor, even money. Vic Stauffer with the call. The Fantasy live from Oaklawn.
2 more left to load. Alta's Award. And She Dares the Devil. They're off. Venetian Harbor broke very well and goes to the front from ringleader in second. Swiss Skydiver away in third, then to the far outside, and Lazy Daisy, she breaks fourth. At the clubhouse turn, it will be Venetian Harbor and Flavian Pratt to set the pace. She's opened up a 2-length lead on ringleader and Swiss Skydiver. Lake Avenue comes away running in fourth, with Lady Glamour outside of her in fifth. Lazy Daisy makes her way to the rail. Good move there. Lazy Daisy has 5 lengths to make up. She crossed in front of She Dares the Devil. Alta's Award is midfield. Then comes Ice Princess and Harvey's Little Goyle. Champion British Idiom only has 2 beat. They are New York Groove, Kansas Kiss, and well behind the field is Fire Coral. That's the 14 of them up the backstretch in the 48th Fantasy. Venetian Harbor, high cruising speed, but Swiss Skydiver going to come take her on with a half mile left to run. Venetian Harbor just a half length in front. Swiss Skydiver is second by 2 lengths to Lake Avenue, who rides the rail into good striking position. Ringleader just outside of her. British Idiom is beginning to pass horses. Here is British Idiom in the green sleeves within 7 of the lead. She just went by Lazy Daisy. Top of the stretch, Venetian Harbor is alongside Swiss Skydiver, and these two have raced away. Venetian Harbor half ahead. Swiss Skydiver is alongside, and it looks like these two in a match race in the Fantasy. Venetian Harbor is back in front half ahead. Swiss Skydiver gonna make her work all the way to the wire. These two are 20 lengths in front. Swiss Skydiver, Venetian Harbor, and Swiss Skydiver is going to run away and win the Fantasy. Swiss Skydiver beat Venetian Harbor. It was double digits back to She Dares the Devil and Alta's Award.
Fireworks in the stretch of the Fantasy. The favorite, Venetian Harbor, in front, tackled by Swiss Skydiver. Swiss Skydiver able to wear down the favorite Venetian Harbor in this 2020 edition of the Fantasy.
Look, and it's not like Venetian Harbor was setting slow fractions. 22 and change, 45 and 2, 109 and 3 for the 3 quarters. Brian Hernandez came after Venetian Harbor early on at the half-mile pole, and she was still in hand. Both of them were in hand till the head of the stretch, and looked like it was going to be a head-and-head battle, but she proved herself that the Gulfstream Park Oaks was no fluke whatsoever. Grade 2, now a grade 3 today, and they beat the rest of them.
Kenny McPeak's always been, they were so far clear of everyone else here, Gary. Late Swiss Skydiver Kenny McPeak, who's been so confident in this filly. Brian Hernandez, the perfectly timed ride there, engaging Venetian Harbor. We go right back to the start of the race here. Venetian Harbor from post position number 2. You're going to see number 11, Fire Coral, I'm being told. Rider almost coming out of the irons, almost losing his irons, Tyler Bays, but we were looking at Venetian Harbor, who broke sharp, made the lead, took a little bit of pressure. Yeah, that is a Fire Coral, Tyler Bays, trying to get back in the irons there. But here, Gary, I thought with the pace pressure, perhaps from ringleader, they come off that first turn, and Venetian Harbor is by herself. The ears go up, and she looks like she's in cruise control.
Yeah, she got the radar going. She was getting the right trip. That was her kind of trip, and I thought to myself when Swiss Skydiver was coming up to her at the half-mile pole, that I don't know, that they were either going to stop or they were going to go on about their business, and they went on about their business.
There's an objection involving the 4th place finisher, Alta's Reward, 3-2-7-14. At this stage, did you think Venetian Harbor was gone?
I thought she was very comfortable. And then when I saw with the ease the Swiss Skydiver cruised up to her, and then I took a peek at the fractions, the internal fractions, she was cruising up to her. And I actually thought that Venetian Harbor may have her hands full. Then I said, well, this is going to be a great battle, and it was a great battle until inside of the final 16th of a mile.
Now, Andy, how was Swiss Skydiver able to upset Venetian Harbor here?
Well, this was I mean, I know she won the Gulfstream Oaks, but this was a significantly improved effort by her. And it's not as though she was gifted the race. I mean, not knocking Venetian Harbor, she ran well. She ran hard every step of the way. The fractions were very quick, but Swiss Skydiver was right behind her, so it's not as though she took advantage of some sort of collapse or some sort of duel, and she's the one that took it to Venetian Harbor. I do think watching the races, the track has been very kind to forwardly placed horses, and some horses, particularly Harvey's Little Goyle, had significant trouble early. She wasn't winning. I mean, obviously these horses dominated by so much, it made no difference, but I think it put horses into bad position, and you touched a little bit on the traffic early. But this was a very, very good effort by the winner, and it's also not like she just beat Venetian Harbor by a head. And I think that you have to wonder a bit with Venetian Harbor whether or not ultimately she's going to be better in races like our test at Saratoga, or even if we can, when we get the Acorn run in a mile around one turn at Belmont, because distance might not be her friend, though this was a quick pace.
Looking at the head-on as Swiss Skydiver able to run down Venetian Harbor, Gary, are you disappointed in Venetian Harbor's effort in that she did not win, or was this Swiss Skydiver really stepping up to her level and simply beating her?
Well, I think that Venetian Harbor, this will be the best number that she's got in her career. Also, Swiss Skydiver, it'll be her best number. They both just stepped up today. These are two very, very good fillies. There's no way you could be disappointed with Venetian Harbor's performance there. If I'm her owner or trainer, I'd be proud of her. These are two very special fillies, and she lost nothing in defeat today.
Stewards are looking at this objection. It's the 13 and the 14, Lazy Daisy and Alta's Reward is that they're looking at, the fourth place finisher here, as you take another look in deep stretch with Venetian Harbor. And I guess, Maggie, the story with Venetian Harbor, if Charlatan were defeated in the same fashion tomorrow, it would be a terrific effort from Charlatan, or in this case, Venetian Harbor, but she'd been built up so much. I think we were just a little bit caught off guard when Swiss Skydiver was able to run right on by late.
Well, I mean, look, Swiss Skydiver, she is a graded stakes winner. I mean, I think maybe we discredited her too much in the fact that she got away with a dawdling pace going back to the Florida Oaks, and she just really took a step forward. They ran fast the whole way, double-digit lengths between themselves and the rest of the field. And going into this, while we had those high expectations for Venetian Harbor, we had the 2-year-old champion in this race as well, with amongst some other really nice horses. So they just really ran away from the rest of these other fillies and hid. They seem to be I don't think I want to take anything away from Venetian Harbor, as you were, kind of alluding to, Lafitte, and that she ran great in defeat. It's just Swiss Skydiver really stepped up her game. Now, as far as those two, it does look as though Alta's Reward, did lay on Lazy Daisy quite a bit during the stretch run. So we'll see if they make any changes. The objection sign's still up.
Yeah, a lot going on here. The objection, 3-2-7-14, Alta's Reward, the fourth place finisher. The objection here involving Lazy Daisy. You can take another look at the stretch in the head-on where Swiss Skydiver was able to range to the outside of Venetian Harbor, and she's just been underrated, Swiss Skydiver. When she wound up on the lead, the paceless race Maggie referred to in the Gulfstream Park Oaks, she went wire to wire that day, the versatility to come off the pace today and run down the top-class Venetian Harbor well clear of the rest. Again, the stewards looking at the fourth place finisher, Alta's Reward, and whether or not she fouled number 13, Lazy Daisy.
Well, he was laying all over the 13 horse, Lazy Daisy, trying to keep him in that pocket, and there was room for him to get through that hole, and that room disappeared, and he had to steady sharply. Now, it doesn't, this has nothing to do with the first three finishers, so your trifectas, your exactas are going to be safe, and there's no change, Lafitte.
No change. 3-2-7-14 in this fantasy stakes with Swiss Skydiver. And the upset for trainer Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez, the perfect ride, runs down Venetian Harbor, and those results just arrived. We have the payouts here. The disappointment being British Idiom, who finished off the board. British Idiom, the 2-year-old filly champ, just no match for the top two. Not that anybody was. Brad Cox did have the 3rd place finisher in here. Number 7, She Dares, the Devil Swiss Skydiver, 34-20, 16-1 at post time over the odds-on favorite.
You're never going to get those odds again on her. Not with me around, not with Andy around. She gained my respect today. Venetian Harbor lost nothing in defeat. She's a daredevil. She dares the devil, excuse me. Nothing bad about that finish right there. She won her side of the race because it was a 2-horse race all the way.
Now, I think, the more we watch the replay, the more you see so much daylight in between the top two. It feels like more about just Swiss Skydiver being underrated, stepping up. Venetian Harbor ran very well this afternoon, but just too much Swiss Skydiver in the end.
Yeah, and she just keeps improving with each race, and as she gets older, she's going to be a filly. If she keeps improving like this, she's going to give her elders all they want going around the ground.
What a show they put on this day, typically where the 3-year-old fillies take center stage at Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky, in the Kentucky Oaks. We hope to see a rematch in the Kentucky Oaks in September. Swiss Skydiver over Venetian Harbor on this afternoon. Tomorrow, Arkansas Derby. Saturday, also Oaklawn Handicap. Look who showed up. Tacitus, beautifully bred colt, contender in the Oaklawn Handicap. Stay tuned.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity. Out of a full sister to champions yesterday and Quarter Moon, his picture-perfect pedigree includes 8 Grade 1 winners under the first 3 dams. A winner in his 2-year-old debut at Aqueduct, he was named a TDN Rising Star. He captured a decisive victory at Keeneland and won the Grade 3 Pennine Ridge Stakes at Belmont. The only son of top sire Dubois standing in Kentucky. DeMarchelier, new for 2020 at Claiborne Farm.
Go from Railbird to Winner's Circle. With My Racehorse, you have access to top horses and trainers, backside tours, exclusive ownership experiences, and fast payouts to your online account. With shares starting as little as $100, the Winner's Circle is waiting for you. Go to myracehorse.com or download the My Racehorse app today to join the thousands who have already started their journey as a racehorse owner.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Racing, at the races. Our brand new sponsor here, Petaluma Creamery. Petaluma Creamery, makers of Spring Hill cheese, offering a wide variety of 100% organic, non-GMO cheeses and delicious butter as well. What a race in the fantasy. And Swiss Skydiver running down Venetian Harbor. And again, we look forward to seeing them perhaps hooking up again in that Kentucky Oaks the first Friday in September. A terrific show put on by the 3-year-old fillies. And tomorrow, it'll be the boys' turn. And the 3-year-olds in the Arkansas Derby, the 2 divisions. And then the race set aside for the best older horses at Oaklawn Park in the Oaklawn Handicap. And several familiar names, several big names showing up for this one. A big field for this Oaklawn Handicap and a $600,000 purse. 14 of them 4-1 Tepid, morning line favorite, Combatant, Santa Anita Handicap winner. But let's start with Improbable. Trained by Bob Baffert, 8-1 in the morning line for Improbable. 3 starts at Oaklawn, 3 second-place finishes, and part of the problem are his antics pre-race in the starting gate, Gary.
Yeah, and post position, drawing the 14 hole again with Improbable. And when these entries came out, the connections just had to say, really? He was wide in the last race, ran a great race, getting away from the starting gate clean, and wide gave everything he had. It was his first out of the year, but what a bad draw for tomorrow's race.
Can we take a look at that? The start of the Oaklawn Mile. 4 improbable. These were issues before the Pennsylvania Derby. It's interesting because Bob Baffert talks about him, and he says that in the morning when he's training, like a bomb could go off next to improbable in the gate, and it doesn't faze him whatsoever. In the afternoons, it is an issue. So when they file into the gate tomorrow, something to really keep your eyes on with improbable. His antics in the starting gate, how much energy he spends. But even though he kind of flipped out before the start of the Oaklawn Mile, and there you see him training at Oaklawn Park, he ran really well in his 4-year-old debut. One of the best older horses in the country beat him in Tom's Daytime.
Yes, he did, but the starting gate is an issue, and the draw is an issue as well. There's a lot more speed in this race tomorrow than there was the Oaklawn Mile, and he's got another 1/16 of a mile to deal with tomorrow, or another 1/8 of a mile to deal with tomorrow, as the Oaklawn Mile was a mile, and now he's got a 1.1 miles, and he faded in that race. You would think he got something out of it. Well, we'll see.
Big effort running second to Tom's Daytime. How about Tacitus? Back from the Mideast. This was in the Saudi Cup, chasing the likes of Maximum Security and the Philly Midnight Bijou. Tacitus, there he is. It's been a long time since his last win. He has not won since the Wood Memorial, this beautifully bred colt.
Yeah, and he can really run, but problem is he keeps having excuses. And how many times do you keep making excuses for Tacitus? Will he come around? Finally, he's had a long, grueling trip. He's come back. Billy Mott wouldn't run him, I don't believe, unless he thought he was 100%. So question is, which Tacitus is going to show up, and is he going to get the clean trip? That horses make their own trips, good or bad, and they can overcome bad trips.
They changed from 2 to 3 so much, from 3 to 4. Tacitus now a 4-year-old. What do you think, big picture? What are we saying about Tacitus at the end of this year? What are you expecting from him this season?
I think that Bill Mott is still trying to get him figured out 100%, but I know where his goal is. It's going to be the Breeders' Cup Classic, going 1.25 miles.
So that's Tacitus, and here's Combatant. Owner Costa Aronis, another purchase of a racehorse in training turned Grade 1 winner. It's incredible. Combatant here in the biggest effort of his career in the Santa Anita Handicap.
Yeah, and he just keeps improving with age. He takes on all competition. I think he's facing some tougher competition in here than what he did in the Santa Anita Handicap. But I think he deserves to be in there. He deserves a hard look.
Familiar with the track and that he used to be with Steve Asmussen, as you mentioned, at Oaklawn Park. This race is springboard to bigger and better. And some of the best horses that have won here, City of Light went on to win the Breeders' Cup 3rd Mile, and the Pegasus will take charge. A champion, lawyer Ron Peace rules. The list goes on and this race that feels like, many of them that we could be talking about in the Breeders' Cup Classic, the biggest race for older horses in North America. Andy Serling, with all these big names in this Oaklawn Handicap, who else might be lurking in the weeds, ready to pull off an upset potentially?
I'm not sure we even mentioned the favorite yet. Isn't Mr. Freeze probably going to be favored in this race? I would think he would be. He was very impressive. 1 1/8 may not be his best distance, but a track like this that's been so kind to forwardly placed runners would favor his running style. Could be a different track tomorrow, though. I think Tacitus, if the track is fair, has a very big chance, though I worry about the fact that he was in Dubai after being in Saudi Arabia, and this is a pretty quick turnaround. But I don't know why Trophy Chaser isn't really considered a major player in this race. Obviously, he's got to bring his game here. Same trainer as King Guillermo, and both of them are potentially players in here. They have to bring their games from Florida to Arkansas. If he does, he's been terrific this year. I mean, King for a Day, a lot of people don't really remember the horse that he beat last time at Tampa, but he's the horse that beat Maximum Security last year, and it took a little extra to beat Maximum Security from what we found out since his running in his races last year, and he was able to do it. He was ready to go for Todd Pletcher, and Trophy Chaser overcame a slow pace and still beat him. He draws well towards the inside, and I just think he's a horse that's coming into his own, and he's run well enough recently that he can win this race, and he potentially could get a little lost in the wagering in such a big competitive field. And I got to tell you, the Oaklawn Handicap, this is an absolutely sensational race. I know the Arkansas Derby is really the two halves, and Charlatan, they're the big story tomorrow, but don't fall asleep on this race, guys. I think everyone would agree. This race could not have come up any stronger.
That's the point. With contender after contender, big name after big name, and Mr. Freeze, as he mentioned, he has really been good this season, coming out that huge win in the Gulfstream Park Mile at Gulfstream Park. Maggie Wolfendale still with us here. Who else should we be excited about seeing in tomorrow's Oaklawn Handicap?
we're just excited to see this race. I think it's a grade 1 masquerading as a grade 2 with the talent level and the talent pool that we've compiled for this Oaklawn Handicap. And I'll take a look at some of the horses coming out of the New Orleans Classic, including the winner By My Standards, who got somewhat of an assist from his stablemate in Silver Dust, but still it wasn't a really fast pace, and he sat comfortably behind it and really kind of controlled that race from the onslaught. He never looked as though he was going to lose that race, and I really feel as though he's a horse that took a tremendous jump forward from 3 to 4, as well as his trainer saying that, Brett Calhoun as well, and that he's just put on so much more muscle mass. He's a much stronger physical overall. Now, some people may say, well, he's never run that much outside of New Orleans, and he's never won, but both of his races outside were at Churchill and Sloppy Tracks, which also included the Kentucky Derby. So we'll see what he does tomorrow going in the Oaklawn Park Handicap, but also I kind of like the horse that'll be a long shot as well that finished second behind him in Captivating Moon. He was the only horse to really make up ground down at the fairgrounds that day. Kind of an older horse that comes with his one late run, very good looking good looking horse for trainer Chris Block. So I'm liking these horses coming up from New Orleans, but boy, is it a deep field to feed. I'm so looking forward to this because you can make it a case for any horse in here practically.
As Andy mentioned, you can talk about 5 or 6 and you still don't get to the horse who might be the post-time favorite, and Mr. Freeze, By My Standards, who Maggie was just discussing, Gary. You don't see that often, that acceleration, even on the television screen, that jumps off the screen. He turns it on and accelerates like a good grass horse does on turf. He does that on dirt now as a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I agreed 100%. Last year, he was lined up in the starting gate. It's Kentucky Derby. A lot of big things were expected of him, and now he's showing that on the racetrack. And if he steps forward again tomorrow, going to be one heck of a race.
Looked terrific in both of his starts as a 4-year-old. By My Standards, yet another big name poised for this Oaklawn Handicap, all part of a terrific closing day card at Oaklawn Park. The Oaklawn Handicap, another look at the morning line with combatant, the tepid, lukewarm morning line favorite at 4-1, field of 14 in tomorrow's 1 1/8 Oaklawn Handicap, sandwiched right in between both divisions of the Arkansas Derby tomorrow afternoon. Live coverage right here on America's Day at the Races. One race left, race number 10, horses in the paddock. There's Steve Asmussen. We're 14 minutes out till the nightcap on Fantasy Day. Stay tuned.
He's always been a beautiful moving horse. Got a great attitude, real simple to be around, and and he's done everything we've asked him. He walks like he's on wheels. He takes that with him to the racetrack. And, when you breeze him, he doesn't move his legs quicker. He just extends his stride. I mean, he looks like a horse that's got speed, but he might carry it a little bit too. And that's the thing about him. He's an athlete.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Nobody wants to fall into a safety net, but when adversity or hardship presents itself, it beats the alternative. Since 1943, the Jockey Club Safety Net Foundation has been serving those individuals and families in need across every facet of the thoroughbred industry. Help us continue to be the safety net and catch those most in need. Visit tjcfoundation.org to learn more.
Winding things down on Fantasy Day from Oaklawn Park. Coverage on America's Day at the Races brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Swiss skydiver was unusually good this afternoon running down Venetian Harbor. Earlier in the Fantasy, and we have one left on the program here with this $40,000 allowance optional claiming event. Horses in the paddock, 11 minutes out, 9 to 5 on spend. Several defections, Gary. Horses 1, 2, 4, 14, all out. Spend with Flavien Prat in the saddle. Prat having to settle for a second in the fantasy aboard Venetian Harbor.
Exact same connections here. Richard Baltus, the trainer of Spend. And I don't know what kind of mood Richie Baltus is going to be in. He doesn't like losing at all. None of us like losing, but Richie especially. So.
Well, the good news is Big Philly ran second in a big race on the first Friday in May, and it's done. The Kentucky Oaks still lies ahead, right?
Look, and both these fillies, I want to see a matchup again because that was some kind of horse race there, and a whole new dimension shown today.
Hindsight 2020, as always. Is there anything differently that you would have done, or anything different Flavien Prat should have done aboard Venetian Harbor?
No, if you could have got some rocket boosters for that last 16th of a mile. I don't think she got tired. They both ran to the wire. They were strong to the wire. As they go on, stretch out, we'll see what happens between the two of them.
So far clear from the third place finisher here. What a show put on in the fantasy, and exactly what racing fans needed on this first Friday in May, without the Oaks today, without the Derby tomorrow. And again, hats off to Oaklawn Park. These races were supposed to be run 3 weeks ago, the Arkansas Derby and the Fantasy. They recognizing the void in the schedule once it was announced that the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks had been postponed, moved the races back so that racing fans would have this opportunity to enjoy great thoroughbred racing on a day, on a weekend they're accustomed to celebrating the very best North American racing has to offer.
Yeah, and it's brought the best horses from across the country here to put on some great races. I loved what Maggie said, that you know, the Grade 1 Oaklawn Handicap is masquerading. I mean, the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap masquerading as a
masquerading as a Grade 2, Grade 1 talent. The same in the Fantasy, Grade 3. But
that's why
Grade
Maggie
1
said
talent. Tomorrow, though, yeah, and those two of the Grade 1 Arkansas Derbies, both being treated as individual preps for the Kentucky Derby. When they split the Rebel last year, the points, there weren't quite as many available. Not the case tomorrow afternoon. 100 points to the winner, 40 to the runner-up, essentially guaranteeing spots to 4 horses for the Kentucky Derby horses exiting the Arkansas Derby. First things first, 10th and final. You just saw number 3 here, Sarah C. There's number 5, Rawway, a long shot, 26-1.
3 for 26 lifetime. Florent Giroux aboard here, beaten 24 lengths last time out.
Spend. Currently 2-1 the favorite, followed by a Wholehearted at 9-2, another contender.
Yeah, a big contender in here, coming off a victory last time out. That was at Will Rogers Downs. He won by length and 3/4.
La Chancla looks like Ricardo Santana is going to take down that 7th Oaklawn riding title with the cushion he has. Profound Legacy, 42-1.
Profound Legacy. She is 2 for 13 lifetime, 0 for 2 at Oaklawn Park.
Unique factor, Terry Thompson seeking a second win in the afternoon.
She has no speed. She'll come running late.
Raintree Starlet, 31-1. But we've seen stranger things happen today.
Yes, we have. She's won 2 of 7 races at Oaklawn Park, trying to rekindle the fire today.
Fugitive Lady, tough to make a case for her on paper.
Yeah, beaten 18 lengths last time out, in for the $40,000 tag today.
And Stir does draw in, and it's just great to see Javier Castellano back doing his thing, healthy, back riding after that battle with coronavirus. Again, he tested positive several weeks back. Had no idea he was sick. He was just getting ready to ride at Gulfstream Park. He went in for a routine checkup as part of the protocol. Tested positive, and it was isolation. It was more of the same, trying to get ready to ride for this weekend. But what's important is he's healthy. He's back in a date with Farmington Road tomorrow afternoon in the Arkansas
and he actually, after that initial quarantine for the virus, he was out of quarantine, back with his family in New York, and to be able to ride at Oaklawn Park, with New York being a hot spot, he had to go back to Florida, re-quarantine himself for another 14 days to get where he's at today.
It didn't work out with British Idiom today. We'll see about Farmington Road tomorrow afternoon. Andy Serling, the get-out race, 10th and final on Fantasy Day. What do you think?
I don't have any picks to get myself out or anybody out here because I think it's fairly chalky. An important note in here is with the 1 and 4 both scratching, significant speed came out of the race, and while that may help a long shot like the 11 Raintree Starlet, it really does help the 6 Spend because she's a forwardly placed runner, and if she is able to get back to her decent form before the claim and layoff, then she's the horse to beat. But keep in mind, you don't claim horses towards the end of the Del Mar meeting for $40,000 to rest them for 8.5 months. So obviously something has gone wrong. Now, Richard Baltas has decent numbers coming off layoffs. He's good off the claim, so I won't be surprised when she runs well, but you are dealing with a favorite who has been laid up for a significant time off a claim. So you look for reasons to question, why might I be worried about a favorite? And I think that's the reason to worry. The fact that she has speed and she has talent makes her the horse to beat in here. I do think LaChancla is a dangerous horse, though. She's got a significant barn change here to Steve Asmussen, and she showed some talent last year, last race of the meet actually at Belmont, then a win at Saratoga. And while she didn't beat any killers in there, she ran well enough, and I think she has a real chance to step forward for the Asmussen barn. Now, she's another who could maybe need a race. Steve Asmussen's numbers off layoffs are not sensational, so maybe she'll need one, but I think LaChancla is the most likeliest upsetter. But all I'm doing is expounding on the 2 choices in the race, and that's not going to help anybody make a score.
Feels like the handicappers have zeroed in on the right horses in this 10th and final. You mentioned LaChancla, who's now 3-1, and still spend at 2-1 with about 3 minutes to go here, Gary.
Yeah, and she's on her toes back behind the tree there right now, bouncing along and full of herself. It's interesting, she has been off all this time. That's a lot of patience to claim one for $40,000, but yeah, she showed good speed last year at Del Mar in that last out, and I'd look forward to show some good speed again.
It really is interesting, the highs and lows for jockeys. Remember last year, and Flavian Pratt, who rode the defeated favorite in the Kentucky Oaks, Bellafina, had been disappointed that he lost the mount, didn't have a chance to ride Omaha Beach in the Kentucky Derby, who wound up scratching anyways. He wound up in the saddle of Country House. And in the end, Pratt wound up a Kentucky Derby winning jockey by disqualification on Country House, 50-1 in last year's Kentucky Derby. Maggie, we're about 4 minutes out here. Your thoughts on this 10th race at Oaklawn Park, and we look at LaChancla, pictured at 3-1, and a baby crying in the background, I believe.
Sorry. It's getting close to feed time. Anyway, my poor husband's dealing with 2 little girls at the moment, but as regards to this last race here, excited to see LaChancla back at the races. Filly, I thought last year for Rudy Brissett had a fair amount of talent. Then they took her to Charlestown, which can be a monster within it at that racetrack. It's a bull ring, as we call it. It's only 5/8 around, so 7 furlongs. Is around 2 turns, and it's under lights, and she did it on a wet track for the first time. Her 2 races before that were very good at Belmont and Saratoga, so we'll see if Steve Asmussen has her ready off the layout to come back. I like what I've seen from her. I like the spot she comes back in, because the argument could be made that she was facing some nice horses in those 2 New York races. So I think LaChancla gets back on track. But I'd be a little bit outside. That's the 13 in here, Stirred. I mean, just on connections alone with Mike McCarthy and Javier Castellano teaming up, a filly that gets back to the dirt, gets back to sprinting as well. And sometimes these turnbacks just work out well, though we've seen some horses definitely dominating more towards the front end at Oaklawn today. But as I get back to the current favorite, Spend in here, I've noticed she's been working very well at Santa Anita. I mean, I watched her last workout, that Bullet in 47 and change. She did it very easily. Notice her flicking her tail a lot. Sometimes that speaks to a horse of maybe being agitated, maybe something kind of not sitting well with them. But as I throw it back to you guys, Gary, I'm not as familiar with training at Santa Anita. Is there a reason why a trainer might opt to work a horse on the training track as opposed to the main track there?
Yeah, it's a great question, Maggie, and a lot of horses are training on the training track. First of all, there's only 2 days a week that they can actually work, that you have to apply, but on the training track, it's been very, very kind to the horses. A lot of the main turf trainers, Neil Drysdale, Leonard Powell, A lot of folks like to use that training track. The turns are a little bit sharper on that. It's only 6.5 furlongs in circumference. It sits inside of the turf course, but very, very kind surface.
Why is Maggie apologizing?
I have no idea.
Listen to us during commercial breaks. You want to hear some real crying. As these horses make their way behind the starting gate, a terrific day of thoroughbred racing in the Fantasy this afternoon, and what a show put on by those 3-year-old fillies, and hats off Swiss Skydiver, able to run down the heavily backed favorite Venetian Harbor. And now, one day left, tomorrow from Oaklawn Park, 2 divisions of the Arkansas Derby and the Oaklawn Handicap, loaded edition of the Oaklawn Handicap. We'll be on, I don't know, 27 straight hours, something along those lines.
Something like that.
FS1, wrapping it up late on FS2. Look forward to bringing you all the coverage from Oaklawn Park. America's Day at the Races right here, both divisions of the Arkansas Derby and Oaklawn Handicap. One final time, out to Vic Stauffer with the live call, Race 10 live on Fantasy Day at Oaklawn Park.
They're at the post. They're off. Spin, 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 wins the break, goes to the front from Wholehearted, who now backs off. So Raintree Starlet and Profound Legacy will challenge Spin, Spin, Spin. La Chancellor away a close fourth. Then comes Sarah C. and Stirred, followed by Unique Factor. Wholehearted is third last, in front of Only Fugitive Lady and Rawway. Spin, 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 and Flavian Pratt into the far turn, a half length in front of La Chancellor in second. Sarah C's in a tight spot at the rail, may have to tap on the brakes, and she did. She lost third to Profound Legacy and Stirred in the center. Then comes Wholehearted. She's only got 4 lengths to make up. Unique Factor outside of her. 3 back to Raintree Starlet. Then Rawway. Fugitive Lady is the trailer. Many chances top of the stretch. And Spin, Spin, Spin continues to lead. She's just a length in front. Unique Factor threatens to run a big one. She runs up in the green and white into second. Then comes Stirred. Wholehearted in the center is 4 behind. Spin, Spin, Spin. Unique Factor. Stirred is between horses. These 3 spend, 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 and Unique Factor down to these 2. Spend, spend, spend. Unique Factor, spend, spend, spend just in front. Spend, 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 beat Unique Factor. Stirred was third, Profound Legacy fourth.
Maybe that takes a little of the sting out, just a little bit. Gary Stevens for trainer Richie Baltis. Flavian Pratt denied with Venetian Harbor. In the Fantasy, at least they get one here with Spend, Spend, Spend.
Well, I'll tell you what, he had her ready off of the layoff. She fought hard. It looked like Unique Factor was going to run right by her, swinging off the turn. She was dropping back in distance to her favorite game of sprinting, where she ran second last time out that she sprinted, and Spend, 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 able to hold off a tough Unique Factor.
Saw a few examples of that on this afternoon. A front runner, a tenacious horse trying, and when it looks like a horse on the outside is going to go right on by, and that leader able to dig in, hold on, find just enough to find the wire. And we saw it once again here with Spend, Spend, Spend. But I think overall a fair racetrack today.
Very fair racetrack, inside, outside, speed just off the pace, as we just saw the 10-horse swing in the middle of the track, come from mid-pack. From
Swiss
that outside
Skydiver
drive.
went by Venetian Harbor.
Very fair track.
Flavian Pratt with a Spend, 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 and a third lifetime victory here. And we'll have those results when we return. 6-10, 13-9, 2-1 in the end. If you played that superfecta, the 9-horse checking in, Profound Legacy, 58-1 to complete the super. 6-10, 13-9, Spend, Spend, Spend in the Fantasy Nightcap.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
This is a Run Happy Colt out of Pledge Pen that we brought here to the OBS March sale. We felt he was a star physical, very good training horse, and although he's on the big side, he's got a lot of speed, and we feel like he'll be an early, precocious type of horse.
Just a real
Real straightforward, nice filly. Her precociousness to be quick early, being sound, good-minded, checks all the boxes. We're just hoping the market receives her well.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery won impressively in his 2-year-old debut at Santa Anita. From there, he captured the Grade 3 Bob Hope Stakes and completed his juvenile campaign with a dominant performance in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Futurity. At 3, the top-rated son of Candy Ride sizzled in the San Felipe. Now, his much-anticipated first crop are bringing top dollar in the sales ring. Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
A fun day of racing. Our coverage on America's Day at the races brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Fantasy, what a show we saw from those 3-year-old fillies. Venetian Harbor run down by Swiss Skydiver. Another exciting event in the 10th and final there. Lavian Pratt with spend, just able to hold on. Still awaiting the results, and as soon as we have those prices, we'll pass those along. But now for racing fans accustomed to seeing the Kentucky Oaks and the best 3-year-old fillies in North America, you saw a great show there in the Fantasy, just getting started at Oaklawn Park. In terms of the great racing, it is closing day at Oaklawn tomorrow. Gary, what are you looking forward to seeing most in the Arkansas Derby, both divisions?
The 2 undefeateds. First of all, Charlatan, the colt that looks brilliant. And regardless of what happens in that race, if he wins, people are always going to say, well, he was in the easier half of the of the Arkansas Derby. There is no easy spot. This inexperienced, lightly run colt. This will be his 3rd start, furthest that he's run. Ran 6 furlongs, then a mile and a 16th, and now going to be a mile and an 8th for the first time. Can he do it? I think he can. And then Nadal, he's undefeated. 3 straight races for him. He answered the question in the Rebel last time out, stepping up and doing what he had to do to get the job done. He was under pressure the entire race and still was able to last, set fast fractions under pressure. Horses come up to him, looks like they're going to run past him. He was to not be denied.
That's something we don't know about Charlatan, how he will respond when another quality racehorse looks him in the eyeball. We know that about Nadal and how important that is. Racehorses can be incredibly talented, incredibly gifted, but if they don't have the heart, they're never going to be able to fulfill that promise. We know that Nadal has a combination, the talent, the heart, that will to win that you saw in the Rebel Stakes.
Yeah, and he showed the willingness to come back. A lot of times they have a tough race like he did, and they'll go the wrong direction when they come back. He hasn't done that. He's been aggressive in his workouts. He looks like he's enjoying his workouts. He's traveled back to Oaklawn Park where he knows the surroundings. He knows what he's going to do there. He's going to do battle, and that's what the good ones do.
Can't wait to see it. Both divisions of the Arkansas Derby tomorrow on America's Day at the races. We have the results in. Are they available? No, not just yet. Here, we'll have those results for the 10th and final. It is official, so we'll stretch here as long as we possibly can, and so much to discuss between the 2 Arkansas Derbies tomorrow afternoon.
They may have bet so much money today that they broke the tote system. Something to that effect, the ADWs.
Well, these fields, big fields, competitive races. As Andy mentioned, we were going through the Oaklawn Handicap earlier. We talked 4 or 5 horses and still hadn't gotten to the horse that might be favored at post time in Mr. Freeze.
Right,
it's that kind of day.
And besides just the 3 big races tomorrow, the cards stacked tomorrow. 14 horse races. We are here for a long time tomorrow, looking forward to it. Every single race is completely loaded.
That is just a killer. Mr. Freeze, one of the best older horses in North America. We've seen that incredible performance in the Gulfstream Park Mile. A Warrior's Charge. We had Brad Cox on. He's legit. Loved his win in the Razorback. Combatant, Big Cap winner. The list goes on. Tacitus is here. Tax and Improbable on the far outside. And will we see those same antics in the starting gate?
I'm saying we'll see the same antics. The question is, will he get as lucky as he did last time at the break? Because it's all a matter of when the starter is going to push the button, and we'll see.
We'll see. What I don't know that we're going to see is the results. We are waiting for those. They are not available just yet. You can go to NYRABets.com, NYRABets.com for the payouts in this 10th and final from Oaklawn Park with Spend, Spend, Spend. Winning with Flavian Pratt for trainer Richie Baltus, not the win they were hoping for. Venetian Harbor denied on this afternoon. Swiss Skydiver, the winner of the Fantasy, 100 points towards the Kentucky Oaks. We look forward to a rematch between those two, as good as it was today in the Fantasy with Swiss Skydiver and Venetian Harbor in 4 months on the first Saturday in September at Churchill Downs. Great race. Off the far turn, look at how far they were from everyone else. But in the end, too much Swiss Skydiver. The hand ride, Brian Hernandez, winner of the 2020 Fantasy, ears pricked and earning a spot in the Kentucky Oaks. We will see you tomorrow, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific on FS1 for Arkansas Derby Day.